I'm Yoshi Lomax, superstar attorney at law and fugitive.
So, you're the famous Yoshi Lomax.
Probably more infamous. I'm on the run from the federal government for crimes that I didn't commit.
Gentlemen, I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Sharon Starr. I'll be taking things from here.
Not to mention being on the hit list of at least 3 of Miami's major crime bosses.
I wanted to apologize in person for leaving so abruptly last night.
Welcome back.
That's Vladimir Kuzetsov, a Russian crime boss. He's been a suspect in over a dozen missing person cases.
I mean, I didn't get here to be this successful for doing things the American way.
I need a list of the jury for my case with Hanju.
Oh, really? What's that worth to you? Oh, my God, you're such a...
Mr. Santana is to be released upon processing.
So what do you know about Sheldon Chisholm?
What do you want to know about him?
I really need to know if you're going to take my case. I don't have time to play, Miss Lomax.
Money is not a problem. You know anything about his case?
It's being handled by agents in my field office.
I've learned that in this game of life, in order to win,
Ready to dance?
you gotta play dirty. You might look at me and see a beautiful, confident, successful woman.
Congratulations, counselor. Yet another win.
But underneath, I'm flawed. I'm broken. And I'm scared. So I have no choice but to run until I can find a way to clear my name.
Miss Lomax is now considered a fugitive of the United States. Catching fugitives is my business, which makes her my suspect. You and your associates are relieved.
Look. She killed one of our own.
But I will not give up.
All right, people, listen up. Get a picture of Miss Lomax out there so the public knows what she looks like.
I will not give in.
Okay. People, we got a game plan. Let's break and execute.
I will not get caught.
Time to go hunt.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
Real talk.
Hey, this is Robin Lord Taylor, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hey, what's up? It's Logan Browning, and you're listening to Real Talk
Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Real talk.
Hey, I'm Gina Liu, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hi, I'm Diane Franklin from Better Off Dead and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. You're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Chrissy DePaul here, and you are listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hi, this is Michael Jai White and Byron Mims from Black Dynamite, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hey, what's up? This is China Lane. You are listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio. So keep it locked, keep it high, don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Verduga, aka Justice Woman, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dennis White here on Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio. Tune in tonight and get the real.
Real talk.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For pop R&B artist Jamela.
I pick Kelly. Yeah!
In the morning, please?
No, I think I want to handle this right now. You can give your time to the studio boy, but I think your man can get a few minutes. All right? Hey, don't walk away from me.
You're hurting me. Stop, please.
Get in the car.
I've been down this roller coaster, around in circles. We go trips around.
646-595-4038. Once again, the number is 646-595-4038. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with the Director and the Jedi Council. I am the Director, and we'll be with you for the next 120 minutes or so. Real Talk is brought to you each and every Monday by Dollhouse Radio and Diane Morrell. And we broadcast live via the World Wide Web on blogtalkradio.com and on YouTubelive.com, youtube.com/the IE Network. Also right here on facebooklive.com. Oh, and on Periscope or Twitter via Periscope, which is at Real, REEL _talk radio. So we're all over the place today. Anywho, welcome back, everybody. Got a crazy lineup tonight. Very interesting topic that I believe not too many people talk about this topic. Not on shows. I don't hear it really. One of the reasons why we decided to do this topic today, because here at Real Talk, we obviously talk film and television all the time, everything, but we also like to bring a little bit of technical into it if we can, a little bit of education, if you will, and there you have it. And that's how we came up with this. Tonight we'll be talking about sex scenes in film, and television. If it could be television as well, but filming sex scenes. That's what we should be. That's the title. And what we want to do really is talk about not just filming it, technique, preparation, how to break the ice. Maybe get a couple of horror stories, a couple of funny stories. We will share some of our experiences. I have some guests lined up tonight that will share their experiences, professionals, filmmakers, and actors that can share their experiences when it comes to this part of the art form. So, I mean, the question is, what makes a good sex scene, right? Or love scene, whatever you want to call it. Love scene, sex scene, intimate scene, whatever. What makes a good love scene? I don't know. Well, I say what I can tell you is, from my standpoint, is I think for me, a good love scene or sex scene, if it goes in line directly with the story, it's not just random out of nowhere. If it goes in line with the story, then I mean, most of them do, but some of them don't, especially nowadays. They're just like boom, 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 random, and But to me, it goes along with the story. It has to be kind of like, you can make a sex scene hot, but it doesn't have to be necessarily raunchy, so to speak, right? As some people may consider it raunchy or whatever. I think you could still make a sex scene very hot and not be raunchy. And actually, I'll probably count down. Not probably, I will count down like my top sex scenes or whatever in film. And most of the ones that I picked, they're not per se raunchy, revealing sex scenes, which I'm not shaming that. That's fine too. Whatever the script calls for, it calls for. But my guests tonight, I want to pick their brains on, have them share their experiences on set, because this is something that people don't hear. You see what comes out, and believe it or not, people, shooting a sex scene, it could be just as difficult as shooting an action sequence. Doesn't matter. It still has to be choreographed. It still needs to be storyboarded and plotted out, planned out. But then after you have that, there's some other factors that go into it with the preparation. An intimacy. I start planning my sex scenes right, with everything else. When I plan my shot lists and I plan my, I get my storyboards or whatever. But choreography of it is important. At least it is for me, because you want to make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be, and just like anything else, it's gotta be choreographed, man. So there's a lot of things, but I want to get into the stories from my guest that's coming, and just kind of bring out there. If you guys go, let me just jump in the chat room here. Everybody out there in the chat room, word up, big up to everybody come through. Maddie's in the building, no doubt. Joseph, I know, I see you. Yeah, man, this is a good topic. If anyone, I'm going to put the link in the chat room for some of the people once we start getting. You guys can always put your chats there if you want questions. If you have any questions for the guests, you can put them in the chat room, which is fine. If you're brave enough, you could come on camera and ask the question. You can call us on Blog Talk Radio, 646-595-4038. And you can ask the question that way. I believe we got it hooked up where they can hear you. So they may not be able to answer you, or you may not be able to hear their answer because we have it running through the phone and whatever. It's a lot of stuff going on here. So, but feel free to ask your questions and chime in if you want. Any of my actor people out there, friends, colleagues, whether I shot a sex scene with you or not, if you were ever involved in a love scene, hit us up. Jump on camera. Come on and join the panel. It's all love up here. Real talk. You know what I mean? So with that being said, we'll be getting started in a minute here. And I say, let's see. I got my guest already. A couple of them are here. So let's go ahead and not waste any time and bring in two of our guests of the evening. All right. So we have with us tonight actress Diana Durango.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I kept on thinking about that song, Let's Talk About Sex, Baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I swear I was going to play that, but you know, a lot of times when you play stuff on the lives, Facebook, they get a little mad. They like, you know, they might. I don't want them shutting my show down. So I'm like, all right, everything I play, I own the intellectual property,
right,
and the copyright. So that's how I've been doing it. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is a very cool topic. I wanted to do this a long time ago, and it's just never got around to doing it. So thank you for joining us. And also, of course, I'm going to bring in another one of my guests tonight, good friend, Miss Deborah Markowitz. Debs, how are you? Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us. So, Deborah, we know you are a filmmaker. That's why I asked you on today, you know, to give, you know, another filmmaker's perspective. Obviously, I'm a filmmaker. I can give my perspective. And obviously, we have our actress here, actor, female actor, actress, whatever.
Whichever
you want to go by.
Well, there you go.
Right. And we'll probably be joined by some more in a few minutes. So we'll get started. First of all, I kind of answered the question at the top of the show, and I asked it too. So Debs, from your filmmaker perspective, what makes a good sex or love scene in your opinion?
Well, if the scene is a love scene, you want people to be able to feel the connection, the chemistry between the two actors. You know, sex can be totally different than a love scene. But I'd say most of the things I've done so far, there needs to be really great passion there. So you've got to see the chemistry between the actors, or you don't have anything. So it's just got to be something that kind of gives you, you know.
Yeah. I agree with you. Chemistry is key. Mm-hmm. Chemistry is key. Always is. So Diana, same question. What do you think?
I have worked with Debbie, by the way. She's amazing. I think, like with what you were touching upon, it shouldn't be something that's frivolous. Everybody knows what boobies look like and penis and butt, you know, like what have you. But it shouldn't be frivolous. It should flow with the movie itself. But really good directors like Debbie, they capture the shots. It's not about looking at, I always say movies are like making love to the eye. And you don't want a woman to be like, look at my man, it's all great. You really want to capture those subtle moments, like looking at somebody's back or like looking at B-roll, or we call B-roll. And then also like, you don't want to have actors like myself, you know, just being like, we have to know each other before we get there and be comfortable with that, and also be comfortable with the director, and you know, and say it. I remember telling Debbie, I'm like, Debbie, just whatever you need to tell me, just you tell me. And I look at my actor and I'm like, you know, whatever is going on, we're just gonna go with it. So that and professionalism, it's just really, really good love scenes, sex scenes, chemistry, and really good shots. I mean, you have to have those really, really good shots, because sometimes they can just look ugly. Really ugly.
Yeah. You made some great points right there. And I agree with all of those points you just made. Chemistry, number one, both of you made the point. Chemistry is key. And what we mean by that, obviously, you may be in a film that you may not know the other actor, the leading actor or the actor that your counterpart in the scene. So you need to try to find a way to develop some chemistry if you don't know the actor, right? What we did with Playing Dirty, when we shot Playing Dirty, our cast, most casts, a lot of the cast, I won't say most, a lot of casts become pretty tight knit when you're shooting a film. You're working on a film several days and things like that. Our cast became very close. They started doing things together and stuff like that. But the lead actress that we had, who was going to be in the scene, she lived in another state from all the other actors, so she wasn't around much. So when she came to town, when we specifically came back to New York to shoot that scene, I kind of just gave them advice. I'm like, why don't y'all go get some coffee, go hang out, while you're here, they do each other from the film, but they, I'm just like, just whatever, because I like chemistry is very important in a scene like this. Because if it's not there, it could be. I mean, some people can act it out, but if it's not there, it can be called out. People, maybe not the average eye, but us, people like us, we can catch it and we'll call it out. You know what I mean? So when I make films for everybody. It's especially other filmmakers. I want them to see that what we're doing is right. It goes right along with what we're doing, right? So I believe chemistry should be the number one thing that you got to work on. There's a whole list of things that we'll stop, we'll go by and check it out. Let's see. Yeah, so chemistry.
Trust is huge. Like, you need to be able to. You can't have chemistry without trust. Like, you need to make sure that you can trust everybody there. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. Trust is obviously another that goes right along with the chemistry, because you won't have it without the trust, right? Mm-hmm. So trust is another big thing. Just that's part of this. This goes into your overall preparation. Like I was saying at the top of the show, when I prepare to shoot, I know there's going to be a sex scene, love scene in here. It's all storyboarded out. I sit with the cast members, talk with them first, kind of get them comfortable, and then we block, of course, just like any other scene. You block it out, you choreograph it, so to speak, if you want to say that. And then, it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but it has to be somewhat choreographed. So, especially, what it is. So
You muted
the scene I shot with playing. Yeah, I got muted. Yeah. The scene I shot in Playing Dirty was a threesome. So that had to be choreographed. We had to block that out, because it would have been everywhere, body parts everywhere. So when you have that, it's like, yo, we got to. So I mean, pulled it off, and I think it came out pretty good. We walked away with the win over there at the Long Island International Film Expo. So I was happy about that. I don't know if it was because of the sex scene. I mean, I hope not. I hope it was because of the overall project. But we pulled it off. We made it look authentic. But what people will not know, what people will be surprised to know, is that these sex scenes, when we shot mine, at least, my 3 cast members were like, because they didn't see obviously the final product until they came to the screening. They're like, "Are you sure that it's gonna look right?" I was like, "Yes, trust. That's the process." You know, they're like, I don't know. It didn't feel like it did. I don't know. Cause I'm like, I showed them a couple of, and I don't normally show playback. I don't normally show dailies on set. I don't usually do that because what happens is a lot of the times actors, you know, they're gonna get caught up in how they look at that moment. Yeah, exactly. That's not
territory.
That's why I shoot every side. That's why I shoot every angle. Like, this doesn't mean this we're gonna go with. Now we cut our scene down to like maybe under a minute. It was we cut it down pretty much. But the original way it was cut, and I laugh about this all the time because my man Devon, who actually cut the film with me, he looked at me. He was like, "Wes, the sex scene is too long." I was like, "Oh, word." I'm like, and he comes back and he cuts it, and then we can cut pieces out. We got it down to. I think originally the scene ended up being, at first, like it was like over 2 minutes. It was kind of long. So, you know, for a film, that's long. You know, so we cut it down and, you know, whatever, but it still worked. It's all about all the different angles that we shot. We didn't even use half of them, you know, that's just the way it is. But then, like I said, the actors were like, boom. So what I want to ask you, Diana, as an actress, have you, all right, so.
Give it to me. Don't try to buy your time. I hear you. I hear you, Sal. Come on. Get out.
Okay, so when you first of all, let's start from the top. Yeah, okay. Let's start from the top. All right, let's listen. You get the script. You get the part. You have the sex scene. What's going through your mind at this part? As an actress, you got the script. Deb just cast you in the film. You got the part. Now you read the script, and you got the sex scene. What's going through your mind?
It's going to be very
prepare for that mentally.
You're going to judge me, Deb. I want to think, who's the lighting person? Who's the camera person? Who's going to be the person that I have to trust to make me look good, right? And I'm just like, okay, thank God Deb's there. So Deb's going to be like, no, you're not going to, no, that looks like shit. She would never say that, by the way. But I also want to know who I'm playing against. And I also want to, as far as the script goes, I want to know what got me there. Am I angry? Am I sad? How much do I know this person? What is my motive to be with this person in that way? What am I wanting to get from them or give to them in that moment? What is what's the backstory? Like, what's the setting? What am I wearing? What's the time frame? There are all these things, but again, like the first thing that goes into my mind is there's a sex scene. What am I going to have to wear? How much is going to be shown? Who's the live person, and who are the technical people? Because I could act a certain way all day long, but you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Facebook. I'm so sorry. But if it looks bad, I can act all day long, and then the footage is going to look horrible. So, that being said, and then I'm like, oh my God, I get to do a sex scene with Deb.
Can I say, one of the most fun sex scenes that I think I've done, that unfortunately it's never going to be seen, but I did a short that I ended up turning into a feature. So that didn't really fit with the short, but it was called Date with a Narcissist. And it's about, Kieran Sheehan played the male lead, and it was about this gentleman, to use the term loosely, who basically is conning everybody. And so John, my husband, who was also the DP on the movie, and Diana had one of the roles, had to set it up in our bedroom where we were filming, where the character Kieran is in bed with Diana, with her actress. And at which point he gets up and he's looking in the mirror and he's like fixing his hair, and he turns around and there's another woman in bed. Diana slipped out and another woman slips in, and he's still talking to her. And then he goes and opens a closet to pull out a shirt, and when he turns around, it's another woman in bed. And it's a whole conversation that never stops. But each one has its own kind of flavor. Like Diana was the socialite who, basically thinks that, this is the love of her life. And meanwhile, he's got an appointment and just come back later when I have time. And then there was Jennifer Giles, who plays the woman who's husband doesn't get back home from work later. And then the third one was Faith Kelly, who basically he says, I'll take you to your car. And she goes, car? She goes, I don't even have a license. And I realized that she's like a kid. And it's just all in one scene that we do this with people slipping in and out of bed. And you don't see any, and unfortunately that will never really be seen, but it was such a freaking great, awesome, fun scene to do. But
the choreography on that was great. I mean, when she says it was continuous, it was like we were slowly rolling on the floor and crawling. And then another person was like slowly creeping in. It was 50 Shades of what?
That's awesome. I mean, like I said, there's to me, if it's put together right, shot wise and angle wise, it's fun shooting a sex scene. It's like it's part. To me, I don't look at it any different from any other part of the film. To me, it's like shooting an action sequence.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean? So I'm like, all right, cool. So sometimes in my head, see, I'm more of a director that's like, I might say, okay, we're gonna do this, and then, like I said, my actors are like, are you sure it's gonna look good? Of course they're nervous now. You sure that's gonna look good? I'm like, trust me, it's gonna look great. Because I'm looking at it on the monitor and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna look good. And then they're going crazy. So I did show them a little bit of playback. So I was like, just to ease their minds, because they didn't want to leave the set. I mean, once they committed to it, which I love that about actors, once they commit to it, they're like, look, we doing this thing, it's got to look right. Right? So, just to ease their minds, I showed them a little bit. But that's awesome. I mean, so Debs, man, you're going to have to figure out how to, release that film. What's going on?
Yeah, no, the film is actually... the feature is with the composer and the color grader now, but that scene isn't in it because instead of it being a short 50-minute film, it's an hour and 50-minute film, and we didn't need to squeeze that all together. So it doesn't, unfortunately, it just doesn't fit. When you need to tell the story in 15 minutes, yes, because you get a whole bunch done right there. But in the feature, you need to think that this guy is just like the most amazing person in the world, and this is his best friend and whatever. And then you find, as the movie goes on, you find out more and more. So unfortunately, it just doesn't work, And the lead is, I recast the lead of it. So there's no way I could even use it in there, unfortunately. But it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's funny.
My thing was, do you remember the Sadler scene? So
yes, that was great.
Oh my God. So, I get the script and it's like, you're going to have sex with Bill Sadler. I'm thinking, oh my God, Shawshank Redemption. So I'm like, Bill and Ted. I'm having sex with the Bill and Ted guy. So we're like, you're going to have sex with this guy, Bill Sadler, in the alleyway. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. He's going to shove you up against a wall and you're going to be that girl. Typecast. I love it though. I love it. So I love it. So I get there. I'm in clothing and I've committed. I have come from Florida. I have committed. I'm doing this because I love Deb and I love Elias and we're good. All of a sudden I start hearing the word dingus. What's a dingus? What's that dingus? And I'm like, what's a dingus? They're like, you should see it. It's so amazing. It looks so real. And I'm like,
he made a very miniature penis that was yay big. It was a prosthetic, obviously. It wasn't real.
That's funny.
Right now,
wait a minute. Wait. Now, what film was this?
It was Shoot Me Nicely. It's a TV pilot. It's hilarious. It's so good. But and I didn't direct it. Elias Pledge shot it. But it was basically William Sadler played.
And y'all made You had a prosthetic penis?
A little teeny tiny one. So she's giving you, some action. And when she turns around, it's a newspaper reporter with a camera, and his penis is this big. And it takes a strong actor and a very confident man to do that.
Yeah.
And they're Hi, Bill. Pleasure to meet you. Everything's going great. Yeah. And then my mom goes, my mom was there with me, and she goes, you did what? You left Chelsea? And people were watching. Like, you did what? Sorry, Mom. I love you. I love you so much.
Oh my God.
But, you
Yo, that is funny.
It's like,
There's a hilarious scene. Absolutely hilarious. I don't know if it's up on video or whatever, but you definitely watch it. It's a great series. Yeah, great pilot anyway.
No, that sounds great. I definitely want to see that. That sounds hilarious to me.
I didn't even know what the heck a dingus was. I'm like, what's a dingus?
Oh man. So we're gonna have another. I'm gonna have another one of my guests. We have another guest join us. Actress Yesenia is in the building. What's up, girl?
Hello.
Hey, I hear you.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us. She just came off something. Thanks for joining. We have also on our panel Deborah Markowitz, who's a filmmaker. She's also director of the Long Island International Film Expo. She's here joining us today, and fellow actress Diana Durango is here as well.
Hi. How's everyone?
Good.
Good
to know. So we're just discussing, some of the sex scenes. That's what we're discussing. That's what it's about, right? And we're gonna get into more technique stuff, and I just want to kind of get everybody's experiences with doing this. Now, you did recently experience, Yesenia. You recently experienced doing a sex scene, right? Was that your first?
Yes, that was my first sex scene. It was. I thought it was fun for me. My co-star made it awkward, and so it was for the show for my man is on TV1, which is like true crime scenes, and I was playing the character Tiffany, and we're in bed, and it's time for us to do this love scene, and we both on what to do to each other. We had a PA in the room, and he's like, so you guys are fine with like kissing on the neck? The director was like, you said, if you don't mind, like just showing your tongue a little bit, like you're licking his neck. And I said, okay, cool. So I was all for it. So then I lick his neck, and he like just starts like moaning, and he like stopped. And the director like, I didn't know what to do. So I just got off because I was on top of him. And I didn't feel anything down there. I was just like, what do I do now? So they took me to the other room for him to get situated and back to himself.
Oh, Lord.
So that happened.
So basically, you did as you were asked to do from the director. You licked his neck as part of the scene, and he just basically tried to say, "Cut, time out."
I remember telling me before the scene, before they're like rolling on one, I remember him kind of mumbling under his breath, like, "I don't think you should lick my neck," but I really didn't distinguish the words. So I was just like, okay, well, like that this when we had the agreement. And it was just so awkward. For me, it was like nothing. And during this time, I was just kind of irritated because I was hungry, and we had to keep stopping because we couldn't keep manhood in check, So that was my first love scene, and I had to deal with someone not knowing how to. It was quite interesting.
At least won't forget it.
No, I would not.
Deb, do you think that you do all of your sex?
That's hilarious.
I know.
Deb, do you do all your sex scenes after lunch? Like, I think of every sex scene that we've ever done, it's always after we eat. Like, we eat first, and then we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know that yeah, I don't know that we plan it that way, but I feed people a lot on my set, so it could be.
Yeah. It's like lunch, and then you go and like you have you like brush your teeth, and you put some Listerine in, and you're good.
Also depends on where we're filming it, what we have to do first, people's schedules. So I don't really actually plan it that way. We will, if possible, and it makes sense logistically, we won't do it first thing because sometimes this is the first day the actors are meeting. It's great if they can meet before, and I do like to work with people who know each other, so I know they're comfortable with each other.
True.
But this way they can hang out a bit, talk a bit. If it is the first day, I'll sit down with the actors and we'll talk about, are you comfortable doing this? Are you comfortable doing that? I was in pre-production on a short called Just Look Into My Eyes, and with Lucas Hassel and Abigail Hawk. And, we had to sit down, and I said, look, no nudity for Abigail whatsoever. And Lucas is like, I'm fine. So, okay, I have no problem with that. But, so we're going to situate in such a way where we're talking about angles and this and that, what she's comfortable with, where we don't want to go. But that would probably be one of the more sultry movies that I have, because that's the whole movie's it's pretty much this professional psychic who drives. This is a substitute driver taking her home, and he's trying to figure out what her tricks are, how she meets people, and you don't know kind of who's playing who, but it's just kind of like sort of a little body heat thing while everybody's trying to figure out who's playing the game on who. But so that's going to be really fun. But I do like when my actors can get to know each other a little bit, so I feel comfortable, and then I'll say, this is what I want. What do you think? And I always want to make sure that everybody looks good. Like Diana said, if I'm looking at the monitor and I'll say, no, let's move this, let's do this, because I want people to look good. And some of them, mostly, actually even more the men than the women, I've had them say, I put on a couple of pounds. I'll say, well, leave your shirt on, but open it. Or just put, or just like have it hang off your shoulder. Because sometimes that's sexier than somebody who's going to be worried about, can they see my love handles, or can this, So you got to work with the actors too, because you want it to look hot, It's just, what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't.
It's gotta look hot. And the thing is, you like I said.
I think we lost you.
Oh wait a minute. I think we're getting everybody back now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, the scene can be hot. It doesn't have to be crazy. Like you could work out a hot scene. It doesn't mean that the person, everybody has to be nude or whatever. It's about just, like I said, if it goes along with the flow of the story. To me, the ones where people are not fully nude, those are some of the hotter scenes because it seems more realistic. You know what I'm saying? So like if they're having like for instance, give me an example. Like this is actually in one of my top scenes that I was picking tonight in Fatal Attraction. That was a hot sex scene. You know what I mean? They weren't like straight all fully nude. It was like boom, get it on, threw her up on the counter, boom, 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 fast, 1, 2, 3. So that was dope because that was real. That seemed realistic. You know what I'm saying? They obviously had that animal.
You're cutting out.
Yeah, you'll be back.
I don't know what's up. I had a little technical difficulty there. See if I get everybody back. But they obviously had the animal attraction for each other, so it went along with the story. So that's what made it dope. Yeah. So, and I'm also gonna pause here for a second because I'm gonna bring in part of my one half of my Jedi Council co-host. My man Ralph is in the.
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Can you hear me?
How is everybody doing? I can hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. I can hear you.
Up, man?
Can you hear me?
All right, good. Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, I don't know. The live stream was acting a little weird, so I was just making sure you heard us. Yeah, so once again, chemistry's good. We covered that. Debs talked about possibly, if in fact you're lucky enough to cast two members that know each other, that's another good thing. Oh, see, now they're all piling in. Here comes my other guest for the night, Michael Majuri. What's up, brother?
What's up? What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Hey, actor Michael Majuri and filmmaker Michael Majuri are here with us. What's going on, brother? We talking sex. That's what we're talking about. But sex and film. Yeah, that's why I called you, man. So, Michael, just to give you a update, we have on with us on the panel actress Diana Durango. We have filmmaker Deborah Markowitz, who's also the president. She's the director of the Long Island International Film Expo. Ralph, of course, is my co-host. And Yesenia, who's also an actress. What's up? So I just want to make sure everybody is up to speed. All of us, well, not me. I haven't experienced in a sex scene, but I've experienced directing one. All of us is either experienced directing or being in a sex scene.
I must actually
that's what's up, man. So
I cast Michael in my feature, but I think he was filming one of your things at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, Wes, but I wanted to Italian accent. I wanted yours is the movie he was on. I think he wasn't available.
Big Wes was locking me down.
Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that happens a lot, man. It's business. It's a small business, but it's a small industry, I should say. Yeah, that's cool though, man. Yeah, he was probably with my scene. He didn't get no sex scenes in mine, but
not yet.
He did his own. Now, not yet. Yeah. We got another one lined up for. So Michael, now you have. I know you've obviously. You kind of was on both. You're in front of the camera. You was behind the camera when you did Beyond Kepler.
Yeah.
Right. I know you had a sex scene in there. So tell us really about that. How is it shooting a sex scene from both sides of the camera? You have to direct it and you're acting in it.
Yeah. So when I wrote it, it just seemed a lot more romantic than the actual
Did
process.
You get that
of it, because it was it was supposed to be very romanticizing and mostly poetic, and I really wanted the lighting to be the main focus of it. So when filming came, of course, all the words were on paper, but it never goes the way that you have it written down. So luckily, to break the ice with this amazing actress I had, Danielle Williams, we were just like joking around on set the whole day beforehand. And when it came down to it, I mean, we were just two professionals. So I actually built my sets inside of a storage unit.
Yeah.
And this was a full bedroom scene inside of a public storage unit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually a great studio space because I went in with I'm a student filmmaker, and they're like, "Oh, we have a great student discount," so it cost me like $100 for the month. So I had this space I could build in. So I built a bedroom, and when we filmed the sex scene, I asked if we could just leave the camera running, and then me and her would stay in the storage facility and just go at it. So we actually improvised the sex scene. So it wasn't anything like I wrote. I made sure the lighting was the way I wanted. And I said, okay, so are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? And it was just a point where like, we were both just on the same page of let's just go at it. And hopefully we capture it and then review it once. And then if we like what we see, we'll give it a couple of takes. So we kind of had just a closed set, cameraman hit record, everybody stepped out. We closed the storage unit. We went at it, and I was thrilled. I mean, it was like Zach and Miri make a porno, but just so much more beautiful.
Zach and Miri make a porno.
There was only one camera then. You weren't getting like multiple shots then, just one.
No, we did have 2 cameras. We had a camera for a wide and then a camera for a close up.
That's cool. That's neat.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it's it was like, because we start fully dressed, and it was one of those moments, the big moment where like they finally get together, you finally understand their relationship. So they just experience something major together, so they get really into it. They rip each other's clothes off, flipping them over, and I'm so happy the way it turned out. It turned out exactly the way I wanted it, but not the way I planned on filming it. So as long as I got what I needed. In the filmmaker sense.
That's
yeah, it didn't come out right.
No, exactly. Right. As long as I got what I needed. No, okay. That's a good segue though. Icebreakers. He said what they did. So I want to ask everyone on the panel, since Michael mentioned about icebreakers, what are some icebreakers if you experienced it from your standpoint, anything that you might do? So we'll start with Diane, then we'll go to Debs, and we'll go to Yesenia after that. If I know Yesenia said hers was a little awkward, it was her first time, but we'll start with Diana and icebreakers. Let's talk about that real quick.
So there was one when I was really young, we had a makeout scene, and I said, "Hey, come here," and I pulled him, and I was in college, and I got him in the back hallway, and I made out with him, and then I hit him across the face, and I said, "Don't make me look bad." That was my first icebreaker. It was really bad.
Was that behind the scenes or was that actually in the movie?
I know. I was like, just don't make me look bad. Lock it up. It's going to look real. Like, don't make me look bad. And then he ended up like, it was Valentine's Day. And he's like, I really like you. Can you be my Valentine? I'm like, I'm acting, bro. Like, stop.
Oh, God.
Oh,
my God.
Just say hello, bro. Like, hi, I'm Diana. Pleasure to meet you. Now, back off. A lot of times when I'm on set, and I think Deb knows it, like, I just joke. I look at him like, what the hell are you looking at? Like, and I start joking, and I start like acting just really loud, and I try to really break the ice with joking, and that's just what I do. And I ask the person, is it okay that I touch you? And so like, we'll high five, we'll get close contact, we'll chest bump, we fist bump. Like, I become one of the guys, and then I might burp here and there. Sorry. But it's just for them to know, like, look, she's real. It's not just this. I want for you to see that I'm raw. I'm a person. I joke. We can have, fart jokes on set. It's going to be fine. And then once you're like past that moment, then you're like, I can, pretty much do whatever. So it's kind of like walking in on somebody and they're pooping. It's like, okay, once you see that, like, you've seen everything and you're good. So you're pretty good. So yeah, that's it's lewd.
You're
it's
ready
gross.
for everything.
Like a frat guy. Oh.
So what do I do?
I don't know if I'll ever be ready for that.
I'm on the other end of it, so it a lot will depend on the actors that I'm working with, and mostly, of course, the males can have an issue too, but I find that they have a lot less. What's the word? They have a little more confidence, or not confidence, but they're a little more secure with that. So it doesn't seem to be such a thing. But I know that a couple of actresses, and one in particular there was no nudity. I really don't want nudity in my movies. I don't want anybody to ever look back and go, crap, why did I do that? And as I said, you can get a hot enough scene that you don't actually need to do that. And this one actress in particular, we had to make sure that, she was in bed, she was on the bottom, and we wanted to make sure that the angle was in such a way and the sheets were in such a way that you never saw anything. I mean, she was wearing a nightgown with the straps, tucked in so you couldn't see it. But, so that took a lot of, a little bit of maneuvering. And this was a married couple that were just very much in love. So it was almost more sweet. I mean, it was sexy, but it was also very sweet. It was, a couple that had been very committed to each other. And so, for my movie Leaving. So that, was important that way. Then when I did By Blood, Diana had been in bed with 2 different guys. And but the relationship with the 2 different men was very different. One played her husband and one played the guy she cheated on. And so it kind of, it was a very different dynamic. So it's just talking to the actors and the actresses and just saying, what are you comfortable with? I mean, this is what we want to do. How do you feel about that? Like, I know with just looking into my eyes, Abby's already, saying, we're going to sit down with her, me, her, and John and Lucas. We're going to sit in the bedroom before we even film and say, so what do you think? What about this? How can we get this effect? How can we cover up her boobs but make it look like she's not wearing anything? What angles can we do and whatnot? So, it's like you said, the storyboarding and the deciding, how you're going to do it. And they happen to know each other. And they actually play brother and sister in another movie. They're like, don't show these on the same night. Or show this one first before you show the other one. Not just be too creepy.
That is hilarious. That is a little weird. So, that's funny. So Yesenia, I know you said at first that your first time it made it a little awkward. That was actually the funny story to me. But so did you guys think of any icebreakers, or did you do any ice breaking? Did you say anything, or
Well,
you just went and did your thing?
We start rolling for quite a while. Just, those other scenes that had to be shot that we weren't in it. So we got to know each other quite well. And off camera, we were like the best of friends. And even when he saw me with when they took my wig off and I had no makeup on, I thought that he wouldn't find me as attractive, I guess. But he was just intimidated by my beauty of what the character was. And he just couldn't handle it when it came to me. So I don't know. I really guess just
so
I guess like Deborah said, you just have to talk to your co-star or whoever it is that you're working with. What is it that they cannot do? Because even though they say they can't, when it comes down to it, they either get nervous or whatever turns them on is going to show on camera, which that's actually good. Keep that under control. So I don't know what to do.
So here's the thing. Yesenia. So just to bring Michael up to speed. Yeah. So Yesenia is part of her experience was, the dude kind of, he got a little excited, right? When she she licked his neck or something. He got a little excited. He needed a little muscle relaxers. Right? So
I don't know what to say.
So now, my question. Here's my question to you, Michael, because you are an actor, obviously. So from the male perspective, how do you deal with that, bro?
I was ask that question.
I know you're a professional, but go ahead.
So because I was going to ask that question from a female perspective, because every time I've done a good handful of sex scenes, from the raunchy, bouncing up and down in a car kind of thing, and real raw stuff and real romantic stuff, and I've never once got hard during a scene, because I don't know if it's I just wasn't, if I was more focused on the acting perspective or whatever. And I wonder how that comes across from a female perspective. Do they take that as an insult? Because during normal, with the get down, it could be a little insecurity and things like that, and a woman may find that a little bit offensive. So in a sex scene, because it's work, I've never personally gotten hard, not once, and I've always is that for every dude, or and then how does a female respond to that?
Are you asking if we find it offensive that we would not get an erection?
Oh, let's ask the females.
Yeah.
Oh. Yesenia?
I would say, listen, I was already so agitated because I was hungry today. And the director could pick up through the lens that I was just not happy. they were trying to do everything to make me happy because I was playing lead. And they took me in a room and they calmed me down. I thought it was unprofessional because I don't care how attractive you are. Yes, like even like for you, like if you were in a scene with me, you're very attractive. I'm like, wow, like I have this scene with you, but I'm gonna calm down and get wet over you. Like that's just unprofessional. I mean, you have to really like still stay in character and take your spiritually and mentally take your mind away from what you like and deliver. So I thought it was unprofessional.
Yeah, because like I felt almost like I did an injustice to my character if I wasn't getting hard. But at the same token, I don't know. I was like, I'm at work. So it just, I guess the professionalism tried to take over more so in my head rather than focusing on the full body of experience of the character. And I think I was also worried about that too. Like, hope I don't get an erection right now and, start stabbing her or whatever. Like, plus I got, sometimes you got jeans on. It's not the best time,
So I'm a certified yoga instructor on the side. And we were always taught like there's certain positions that will increase blood flow to your penis. And you could be doing just a standing pose. And from your positions you're taking, you can get an erection. So to me, I don't find offense to it because it's the human body and certain strokes for different folks, right? So I don't find it to be a lack of professional. I'm just like, it's a human body. So to me, that cut off, I'm like, okay, you're a body, you just got an erection, whatever. But to me, professionally, like Yesenia, I look at this guy, I'm like, wow, he's a really good looking guy. Oh my God. I don't get turned on, so to speak. It's like, I'm just trying to remember my lines and remember how I'm going to stay in this story. So to me, it just shuts off.
Right.
Yeah. But erections, I'm like, they happen. So yeah.
It happens, man. They happen, right? Just like nature, erections happen.
Yeah. But they had else in the room, and they're like, want to put a pillow in between his name, this actor, and like yes. So they had to put a small pillow just in case, and it kind of because he can tell from that point on he was so embarrassed, like he wasn't delivering his character how he should because of what happened.
Okay. Well, I mean, it could definitely be a very awkward thing for that to happen. I feel bad for the gentleman who has to go through it, but that's very good perspectives from three different perspectives, which is really cool in my opinion. So let's talk about it from the filmmaker standpoint, Deborah. Now, let's say you were faced with that situation where, the guy's kind of like, hey, he's calling for timeout. Like, wait a second, once again, from our side, I know what I would do, but, have you ever, first I'll start with this. Has that ever happened to you? Because you shot quite a few sex scenes yourself.
I would say no. I mean, I would say one, and I don't want to get into names, but there was somebody whose hand went somewhere. No, that's fine. And they got smacked.
Oh.
But yeah. But and
awesome.
Actually, the actress had not told me what had happened until months later because they didn't want me to feel that this would have ruined the movie because I would have thrown his ass off set. But but now I understand why the person slapped the person so hard. This was all before Me Too because there would have been a serious issue if I had known. That is the only thing that, yes, Diane. That is the only thing that I've really been because we're very careful. So there really has never been other than that's never been an intention for anything bad like that, to happen. Just one interesting thing. And a couple that I'm directing now in my series happens to be two men, and one of them's gay, but one of them's not. And they are so bringing it to set. Like, people even said, wait, I thought he's not gay. I said, he's not, this one. But he's so committed to the part, you know, and they know each other. They know each other because it originally was supposed to be two different actors who knew each other. I had to recast one of them. And so when I first said, well, like, so-and-so is really not right for the part and I got to bring somebody else in, he was like, oh, I don't know. Lisa, sorry, I know I'm not. And he said, but okay, it's the part. I love the role. It's a great role. And I ended up casting somebody else. He knew. He was so happy. And the chemistry between them is amazing. Even though again, one is straight, he's married, you know, but they're just so committed to who the actors are and, you know, to who the characters are. So, you know, so that's actually pretty awesome that they can pull that all off. Yeah. So it's fun. And of course the gay one's always teasing the straight one, you know, because you know, you know, so.
Love them.
Yeah, I've done the gay thing too. Not where I had to, you know, do any romance or love or any kind of that, but I've had like dudes below me in movies and whatnot like that, or I was naked on set with a dude or whatever the case may be. And I always, honestly, I've never felt like objectified or anything like that. It's always like making fun of, you know, the straight guy who has to do this gay role and whatnot. I always feel like that's a common good icebreaker when it comes to something out of the comfort zone. But
yeah, they do want to work with great
that's true.
actors. I mean,
Hey, at the end of the day,
in gratuitously, but at the same time, you have to work with great actors, and they have to trust you that you're not going to let anything happen, and you have to make sure that they're comfortable. I mean, when one actor that I had to get rid of, I knew that he would never, even though he was into it and he really wanted to do it, I could tell he was being very weird, and I'm like, you know, if you're not comfortable, then this isn't. No, I'm fine. I just don't know anything. I'm like, you know what? And I just knew that this would not work, you know. And then I cast Lucas, and he's just amazing, you know. Lucas Hasseln, you know, and they're just both so incredible. So everything happens for a reason. Yeah. But you have to be intuitive enough to know if your actors are comfortable or not, you know, and whether they can trust you and whatever, and that it all comes together.
yeah, I mean, when the actors, I mean, like I said, if you are lucky enough as a filmmaker to get actors that know each other, that's always a great thing because they already have chemistry in a sense. I remember reading something about with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet when, you know, obviously they did Titanic together, but then they became really good friends after Titanic. And then there was another film that did. I don't remember the name of it.
Revolutionary Road.
Revolutionary Road. It was something like that. It was one of the films that they did to. That's what it was. They had a you know, sex scene in that, and it was just very easy for them to pull it off because they were friends by that time, like good friends from when they met, you know, in Titanic. So, I mean, obviously, some people may say you get the best ones when you got that chemistry. When the chemistry is high and it's tight, you get some of the best sex scenes out of it. I definitely think so. Now,
her nude scene, from what he said, was the first scene for the entire movie, and she didn't know what to do. Like, she had seen him or what have you, and he was on set, so she said, he's going to see me naked. And from what he said, you know, she just walked past me and she goes, here we go. And she just walked past, and you know, and then she started walking naked in front of him because she's like, well, he's going to look at me naked anyway. So I might as well just like let him look at my wonkers a little bit and then we'll just go waffle about. So, you know, that was the first day.
Yeah, James Cameron says
Right?
all of DiCaprio's reactions, like that awkwardness, was
It was
all real, you know.
Lee's cat, like it's so raw. Like he's like, you know, he's looking at Kate. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you have that opportunity to just break that ice, man, it's always a good thing. So now, one of the things that we're going to do later is kind of not break down, but kind of count down some of our scenes, best sex scenes maybe in a film. If I'm gonna get one from each of you, get one from each of you if you narrow it down to that, right? Is there in a film that you might have seen that's not a film that you've been in? What would you consider? What's one of your favorite film sex or love scenes? We'll start with Michael. We'll start with you.
Damn. There's so many like really good ones. I mean, I always think anytime I think of like the romance sex scene or anything like that, I always go back to The Notebook because I mean they had chemistry on and off set. So I always like the passion in that. But my favorite romance movie and sex scene, and I feel like was the most real, is Love and Other Drugs between Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway. It was like raw. It was not like you could tell that they just trusted each other, and you know there was undoubtedly hearts were touching, you know, like, but there was just that level of comfort, that level of trust between two professionals. Like, hey, this is what it is. It's gonna look amazing on film. This is the way it's got to be, and they did it throughout the entire movie. So if I had to pick one, I would be like all the sex and just Love and Other Drugs. Honestly, it was really perfectly done.
All the sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Besides playing dirty, of course, you know, besides the three-way and playing dirty.
Yeah, there you go. Playing dirty. That's right. Shameless plug. Yeah, that's gotta go to shameless plug in there. And so Diana, do you have one? A film comes to mind?
Mine are very vanilla. So I love the sex scene from Meet Joe Black. And it's because you have this all-knowing man in front of you that's death. But he's a virgin in so many ways, and yet she's also very innocent. But for him to have to play that off, and you see it on his face, and you actually see on his face when he's entering her, that to me, and they capture that. And then again, they capture her touching his back. And
what
it was
this, Dana?
Meet Joe Black.
Oh, I haven't seen Nico Black.
No, Meet Joe Black.
Meet Joe Black. Okay.
Meet Joe Black.
So there's that, and then there's I know you only said one, but The Saint with Val Kilmer. That scene is they have sneaker pimps on, which is like 6 feet below or something like that, and it's such a sexy song. And I think that that's a big integral thing for me, at least for sex scenes. You have to have a sexy song and a beat to bring you into that soulful, you know, scene. And again, it's more touching, and there's just like this slow disclosure between these two characters where it's not about the physicality, it's more about you're capturing the moment in the movement, and you're capturing the feelings and this build up inside of you. Like I watch it and I just feel something just building up inside of me. And it's because they're like pounding out at each other. It's very romantic, and I get captured by that. It's very captivating for me. So yeah. Sorry about that.
That's what's up. So you have The Saint and you got Meet Joe Black.
Yeah. So that's it.
So Debs, what comes to mind for you is just
Okay, this one is it's kind of funny because it's not even that sexy, but I think the chemistry, and actually I think the actors hated each other, but I think believe it or not, I'm going to say Dirty Dancing. And the thing about that is because I think they did such a great setup about this sort of homely kind of plain girl who's just into school, and there's this really, really hot, you know, dance instructor, you know, who's the bad boy played by Patrick Swayze, who is probably my all-time favorite ever and always will be. And to make that so believable that, you know, when they finally come together and there is the music playing in the background and he's kind of like, no, this isn't going to happen because, you know, she's one of the rich kids, you know, the kids of one of the rich people there, and he's going to get in a lot of trouble. But at this point, a whole bunch of stuff has happened, and there's just this her reaching out to him and him. It's actually not even really about the sex at that point, you know, but it's just such a longing for each other. And kind of that's what I like to do in some of my more important work, is that just that connection, that it's I mean, she's wearing a bra, she's got almost nothing there, but it's there's just something about that connection between the two actors that I think is probably one of the sweetest things, that I've seen. And then there's a lot of other really sexy ones, but that one just popped in my mind.
Yeah, that one came to mind. Oh man, that's they did actually hate each other.
I know they hate each other, but it worked.
They did, but it worked. It worked out. So Cynthia, what do you have any film that comes to mind? A particular one?
Well, I would say when I was like in my teens, I thought but and I was like when I was in Puerto Rico and I didn't really know English, I was like I have so much passion. And but now I would say Fatal Attraction, because it's crazy, this person comes in like family over one mistake. So a city of that film, it's almost like wonder like want to really, it's like 5 minutes of pleasure worth like your family, and what is that movie called? Basketball with
Monsters Ball? Is that what you're talking about?
Basketball with I think what's the actor's name?
You talk about Love and Basketball?
Yes.
Oh,
Love and Basketball. Yeah.
Love and Basketball.
Okay,
yeah.
with Sanaa Lathan. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that there's the love and passion in that movie is great, even though I feel like they're kind of talking down on women. We can discuss that later on how like he just keep disrespecting her, but at that they were little. I think that was.
Okay. Now that's an interesting one too. I'm gonna mention one of my honorable mentions, but Ralph, I know me and Ralph, we were gonna count down ours anyway. Ralph, do you want to pick one? You don't have to give your number one, but pick one that kind of sticks out to you.
Wow, that's a because you posted this the other day, and I've been dealing with this for a minute now, right? Because I'm not really sure as to what the criteria would be. But just to throw this out there that's a little different, I'm going to say the very last scene of Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage and Elizabeth Shue, where, the premise is that he goes out to Las Vegas to drink himself to death. He meets a hooker. But throughout the entire movie, he never has sex with her. No matter how much she wants to, he never has sex with her. But now he is literally on the edge of death. And now this is the point, like his last breath, his last body emotion is with her, is inside of her. I was just like, I'm looking at this. I was looking at when you post this more from the idea of sex more than the actual act or like some sort of blatant nudity. And that one, I think, to me, that stands out a lot. That they catch that where all you see is her get on top of him, and honestly, you don't really know if she actually had sex or did anything to him or not. All you know is that she's on top of him, but you see his reaction, and then you see him die, and I was just like, wow. And I mean, frankly, when most people say how they want to die, they say I want to die having sex, and that's what he did. So.
What a way to go!
That's awesome. That's a good pick right there. Yeah, what a way to go, right? That's a great pick right there. This is not one on my list, but this is one of my honorable mentions that I had. And only because, all right, so there was a film called Beyond the Lights, right? And in Beyond the Lights, you had the dude who was like I guess he was like her bodyguard in the film, and he was afraid of flying. So there's that scene where she blindfolds him, takes him, in the limo because she's a pop star, whatever. They get on a private plane. He doesn't know where he is. So then she climbs on top of him. starts having sex with him. Then she pulls his blindfold off, and the plane is starting to take off. And he's like, "Stop the plane! Stop the plane!" Like, he's scared as hell, right? And then she pulls him back in. They get into it. He's looking at right in the eyes, and then they're having sex as the plane taking off, and it's like in the air. So, and he's just like, "Yo," I was laughing. That was one of I thought that was a cool one. Kind of hit home for me because I'm afraid of flying too. I hate flying. So I was like, okay. No, and it's funny. I have a funny story. When I was a kid, I tried to do some sort of like mile high thing, and I completely chickened out. Because I was like, nah. So when I saw that in the film, I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. So that one, it didn't make my top list, but it was one of my honorable mentions. But one of my favorites that's on my list is let me see if I can find it. It actually inspired me to how I kind of blocked out the scene for Playing Dirty, because when I read the book, Playing Dirty is based on a novel. When I read the novel, trust me, I dumbed it down so much. I toned it down because the novel was like, whoo, they were going in. But so I knew I had to shoot this threesome scene, and but the film that actually inspired me for that was Wild Things.
I knew that was coming.
Oh
yeah, Wild Things was a hot scene, and when you think about it, right, with Wild Things, as I'm just sharing the screen here, boom,
yeah, man.
So with Wild Things, that scene, Nev Campbell was not nude at all in the scene, which was totally fine with me because the scene was hot. You know what I mean? So you had Denise Richards. She was topless, and of course Matt Dillon was topless, but none of them were actually nude in the scene. Like I said, she was topless, but that was a dope scene, man. That scene was hot, and it inspired me on how I actually was like, okay, I kind of looked at that on how I kind of blocked out Playing Dirty. You know what I mean? When I did the scene for Playing Dirty, which is right here, I kind of, thought about blocking, and because none of them are nude in this scene.
That lighting is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so
wow.
One of my favorites was Wild. Thank you. I don't know why I'm saying thank you. I didn't light it. But my DP, he lit it. He did a good job on that.
Oh, you didn't say Body Heat.
You know what I mean?
Body Heat had to be up there. Body Heat with Captain.
Yeah, that was a classic, though. Yeah, Body Heat was dope. Mm-hmm. This is another shot from Playing Dirty. So, angles. That's perfect segue to angles. Mm-hmm. Let's talk some filmmaker stuff to the filmmakers. So as you can see, I used a high angle there. I personally like two things that I favor when it comes to shooting a sex scene. High angles, I believe, is always good. Even like as far as bird's eye as you can get. The one that I just showed you, that wasn't really per se bird's eye looking straight down, but it was a high angle down shot. But also the other thing is important that I like as far as shooting scenes is, like I said, I like kind of like stuff that seems kind of realistic. Like Yesenia mentioned Fatal Attraction, right? That seemed realistic. It's like they go at it, throw it up on the counter. So I like, for some reason, I always like the against the wall thing. I don't know why, but I always did. I always thought that was cool. It just seems like the contrast, especially if you have a nice wall that it's, they're up against. So the contrast of it looks good. So those were my two things that I kind of rely on, and kind of ended up in a few of my films like that. So from a filmmaker standpoint, Debs.
One of my films, My Blood, we had in back of the door scene, and Skek's against the door where Diana's in that. She's pushed against the door in this hotel. But I think when we realized the room we were going to get, this wasn't going to work because of everything. I was like, what are we going to do? There's not room to do this. And I don't know who said it. Was it Diana or whoever? Or maybe it was the DP said, let's do it outside.
Yeah, I was like, it's a really great angle.
I get the hotel door on the outside, and we're paying off like the maids to just not come down.
Oh man!
Wow. So we have to do the whole thing and take after take.
Awesome.
Like, all right, let's finish up before people come out of the rooms.
I mean, that was dedication.
Oh man!
Dedication.
Wow.
That was good. It was good.
That is dedication.
Yeah, but I like how
dedication right there.
And just look into my eyes, that's actually how everything starts. It's pushed up against. And I'm looking at the location, and I'm going, crap. We don't just like.
Nice. Yeah, I started playing dirty. Awesome.
Broke up. I didn't hear it.
Yeah. No, I said. Like I said, I'm addicted to the wall thing. I don't know why. I started playing dirty off. The first scene of playing dirty, of course, is her getting it in on the wall with one of her characters. So, Michael, what about angles? Angles from a filmmaker standpoint, what's a good angle what's your go-to angle?
Well, I mean, it's really not about angles, but I guess how you're shooting it, or I mean, it really comes down to the emotion that you want the characters to portray. So in one sex scene, I may have a wider, broad, just to capture everything that's going on, the raw passion or whatever. But like in my movie Beyond Kepler, I wanted everything to be a little bit more close, and I wanted you to feel like you were in bed with them to feel how much these two characters just enjoy being close to each other. So everything was up close. It was a lot more intimate. The lighting was intimate. Everything had to fit the part. So a lot of my angles were, it was static, just shooting. But again, it was almost right up in bed with them to just express how close they were.
So, dope. I like that. Yeah, I mean, another thing I think is interesting, I've done it only a couple of times, but I've seen it in films, is like shooting through things. I like that too. Mm-hmm. Like to shoot through something.
The glass.
To the scene, right? Like a glass, or I believe in what was that? They did that a lot in Monsters Ball. There was a couple of times in that scene in Monsters Ball with Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton, where they were shooting through. There was like a glass or something that it was shot through, and then it kind of like they're also doing rack focuses. Like it starts off kind of blurry and then comes into focus, like bringing that in. And I think what other film did that? There's another. I know I did a film one time years ago where I did kind of do the same thing. I shot through. It was a glass. It was an actual wine glass that kind of like, so you can see the two wine glasses there, and we were able to get a nice angle and get a nice shot where it kind of like shot through the glass of the wine glasses with the wine still in it. It was so cool the way it came out. And so shooting through things is always cool too, angle wise. So that's what's up. Cool. So now what I want to do is also any horror stories. We already heard Yesenia's horror story. So Diana, any horror stories that you made?
I had a director, not Debbie. And
epic fail.
This woman decided that she wanted to tell me, so everybody on the cast, about this lesbian experience that she had. And then she goes, Diana, let's go downstairs and I'm gonna show you, we're gonna block this scene. And it wasn't a sex scene, but it was a makeout scene. It was a seriously intense makeout scene. She goes, okay, so I want you to sit here. She goes, okay, so say your line. And I said my line. She goes, okay, get closer. So he got closer to my face. So I'm like, okay, she's acting like the character. Okay, say your line. And then she gets close to my face. Say your line. And like, this is right when I'm about to kiss the guy. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm good. I'm so good. She goes, no, let's do it again. You're going to do it again. And we're going to practice this. And I'm like, what is going, she went like, it was like, we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it all the way through. And thank God, everybody like came down at this point. But I mean, this is a woman that like, he would like smack my ass, tell me to make my boobs perky and like literally like pick them up. And I'm like, what are you, this is before Me Too. And that's what everybody's like, me too with all the guys. And I was like, nobody has ever said that a woman was a person that did a Me Too thing. And that's me. Like I had a female Me Too perpetrator. And like, I was like appalled, completely appalled. Completely. So I was like a sink away. So I was like, so yeah, and she like, and it was completely set off. Like I had to go to therapy for that woman. Like I took, I was like, I would shake from that. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Debbie knows.
Yeah, she called me up. She said, what do I do? I said, walk off the fucking set.
Yeah.
You don't have to put up with that.
Yeah.
It was, I said,
Debbie. Yeah, and I know she's upset about it, but nobody should have to put up with that.
No. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? So, whatever. So, yeah.
Wow.
But
now that, talk about unprofessional. Jesus.
And it wasn't the actor. It was.
Now, I don't know. Do you think maybe she thought because she's a woman she could get away with it like that because she's talking to another woman? I don't know. What was going through that person's brain?
I think that was a power thing, and I think that, and I've had to discuss this with people. I think that with some people, including female directors, Debbie is not that person. There are a few female directors that are not. There are two in particular, those that are. And those two women, what they do is that they exert their power in such a way to make women like feel down. And they just think that they can get away with it. And again, it's because, and I'm sorry for you guys as men, you guys are like, me too. Like we were looking at men, but I mean, females have to go over and take that responsibility as well. And nobody's ever said or talked about these women that are doing exactly what these men are doing on set. So it's almost like, it's always like faux pas. How dare you talk about women? But I'm like, I had my tit grabbed and my ass smacked and that kissing scene. And I just am getting called after and discussing, well, this and this. And I'm like, look, no, I'm sorry. And I eventually said, I don't want to do these projects with you anymore. And I eventually left because it was damaging to my health. Like I literally had to go to a doctor for this. So yeah, give me sex scenes all day long.
Wow.
Give me
that is a horror story.
It was horrible. I've never taken a medication before in my life. They called me. She goes, we're going to start filming again. This is before I walked off. I literally, 2 weeks before, I went to the doctor and I said, I need to know what I need to do. She goes, well, if you're not going to quit, we're going to have to put you on some Xanax to deal with the anxiety that she's giving you because she gave you PTSD. And I thankfully I'm not on Xanax anymore, but I had to take, not Xanax, Zoloft. It was Zoloft that they gave me to go over and deal with her. And by the time I got there and I was like, scene, that's going to be great. Awesome. But that woman, I will never forget that. And I will never, she could be playing she could be an Oscar winning director. I will never work for her. I just won't. I will not do it.
I think there's a little chance of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That's just terrible. See, it's directors like that. It's directors like that heard it for the other ones. You know what I mean? Yeah. So with that being said, Yesenia, you had expressed, what you went through, and the experience is very awkward. That was your first one. Now, how does that make you feel going forward? I know you're a professional, so you're gonna do it, but is that something, does it give you any reservation going forward if the next sex scene you have to shoot per se?
No, I didn't have I felt comfortable. I even took my bra off in front of I felt like my boobs were being suffocated in the shirt they gave me off, and we're okay if you're okay. So I'm comfortable in my own skin. So Guess for the guy, I would continue to act comfortable and hope for the best. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a good way to look at it. I'm glad that you, it didn't, the experience didn't make, scare you out of it, where you're like, oh, because I mean, and Diana, your experience, wow. I mean, it's amazing that, if you were a professional like you are, it's amazing that it didn't push you to the point where you're like, I ain't doing none of this stuff no more.
He told me. That's why
with the director being such an a-hole.
I told Debbie, I said, Debbie, she told me, she goes, you're never going to make it in this town because I will go, if you don't do what I say, you're just not going to make it. And I called Debbie and I seriously thought I had to quit acting. And this is my life. Acting is not something I do for attention. It's something that I feel like I have to do to express humanity and express myself.
That line on you?
Damn. Yeah.
But to me, that's like taking away my breathing. So to feel like you're going to be suffocating me because I couldn't express humanity and I couldn't get those pieces inside of me and let them out. I was depressed. I was ask Debbie. I was crying all the time because of what was happening and the threats that I was getting. Like, you're not going to make it in this town. I'm like, oh my God. And I believed it. I completely believed it. And it took Morgan Freeman.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that.
Yeah. And it took Morgan Freeman and Morgan Freeman's nephew to go over and tell me she's nothing. Like, seriously, just walk off. And like, I've never heard her name. Like, just walk off. And that was such
wow. I can't believe they ran that line.
Yeah. You'll never make it in this town anymore. So it is what it is.
I just won a Best Actress award in one of my films, so in Gem in the Photo Op. So,
but that's I'm going to tell you this. Before that all happened, I did some stuff with Deb, and I'm not going to lie, I was shitty. I was completely shitty. You can ask Debbie. And I was like, no, I'm going to move to New York. And I'm going to go study at the Strasberg studio. And this woman, like, inside of me, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a good actor. She hated the fact that I was a method actor. She said I was selfish. And I'm like, most of the Oscar winners are, they're method actors. So I moved to New York. I studied method at Strasberg. And I went to go work with Deb. And I'm sorry if I cry, the best text that I've ever gotten in my life was from Debbie. And she goes, holy shit, Diana, like, that is the best acting that I've ever seen you do. And if it wasn't for that lady being a bitch, I would have never done it and I would have never grown. So sometimes you have to go through that shit to become the better actor and to do the better thing, or have that gross ass movie you made to know how to do better. So if it wasn't for that crap, I would have never been able to make light from my darkness. So thank you to the lady that was not nice to me. You made me
agree that. That's dope. That makes sense.
So yeah. I'm sorry. That was a whole spiel in itself. I'm sorry.
Thank you for being a jerk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good. So, but Michael, same here. But give me a horror story, bro.
I have to get offline. Sorry.
Bye, Yesenia. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice
to meet you.
All right, bye.
Thank you for joining us, Yesenia.
So my horror story is kind of probably more behind the scenes. And this is also a question I have for anybody who's been in a sex scene. So I had a girlfriend at the time, and I had to let her know I'm shooting a sex scene, and it was actually, the whole film was based or premised around Revolutionary Road and the highs and lows that couple had. So it was this film called The In-Between, where they were constantly fighting, constantly making up, constantly fighting. And like I said, I had a girlfriend, and the big sex scene was coming up. And I tried to tell her, try to make her feel secure in every kind of way. Like, hey, why don't you even come to set and watch the professionalism and things like that. And I thought that would be a good idea. It was not a good idea. I tried to make
oh my God.
Yeah, I tried to make her feel comfortable. I invited her cousin, and she came, she watched. But the thing was, as soon as she arrived, we were having a great day. As soon as she arrived on set, there was this bad juju. just this bad air. Like, you know, it was just something's awkward all of a sudden. And she didn't say anything, but it was just the energy threw everybody off.
But it's because the reality isn't there anymore. You like suspended reality, and by bringing your girlfriend in, it's like, wait, this is real life right now. And then the actress feels like I have to respect that girl, so I can't necessarily get into this mode with my lover.
Yeah.
And like,
And it was worse because I had to ask her to leave. And I didn't say why at the time, but I was like, hey, they kind of want to keep a closed set for the sex scene because it's so intimate. So they're asking not only you, but like the lighting guy, the microphone, everybody's got to leave besides us and the cameraman. So we're going to need you to leave. So that started a fight. And then actually the next film, what I told her, I was like, hey, I'm playing a crackhead. I'm going to be naked on screen. I have 2 sex scenes. That was the end of the relationship. She said, I thought you would eventually grow out of acting. I can't invite my family to premieres when you're kissing other girls and having sex with other girls. And yeah, so that's
wow.
And this is a girl that
it's make believe.
Yo, but if they're not in the industry, sometimes they don't understand the art form. And that's what sucks because this girl was like the one I was going to marry. We were friends since we were 16. It was like, so my world got shattered. So it was like a horror story that just, it was one of the sacrifices of acting. It sucks.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
that is crazy. But that sets up a perfect segue. The perfect segue. What I was thinking about asking anyway, I wish I would have asked it before Yesenia got off as well. When it comes to this, this is the profession, this is the business, right? And you have significant others. Now, me personally, I've been through this too many times as a director. And because of it, exactly what you had said, Michael, because of it, I implemented a no significant other rule, right? When it came to, and even if it wasn't a sex scene, period. Because I noticed that through my experience, the actors were not giving their best performance when their significant other was on set around. So when I guess I'll use Playing Dirty as my horror story. So, we got Playing Dirty, Zasha Santiago, who is the lead. Big up to Zasha. Oh, actually, happy birthday to Zasha Santiago. Today's her birthday. So now when we discussed the sex scene, she read the book, obviously. So I was like, okay, first thing I said when it came to that was read the book. Because I want you to read the book so you can get all this out your, just because you got to understand what's happening. So then, I wanted her to read the book because I wanted her to see how bad it could have been. Because it was nothing like that when we shot it. I mean, it was like that, but it was very toned down.
It's like telling your parents,
and I told her,
report card, and then it's a C, so a C don't seem so bad.
Right, exactly. So because of previous films that I've done, I've had films where actors and the actress was, they were together and they had to do separate scenes, and then it became a problem, and it just completely destroyed my set. And I've had films. I shot a film, one of my first films I ever shot. I went to the New York Film Festival with it. It was called Rebel, and the sex scene in that was completely cut out the film because the two actors that were dating at the time just really messed up the whole sex scene and everything. So I didn't even use it. So when Playing Dirty came about, I sat with Zasha and I told her, Zasha had a people do, right? So she had a boyfriend, And the boyfriend came to, you probably remember this, Michael. The boyfriend came to the reading, the table read. And her vibe, her energy was just so off. She was messing up. She was just like, she couldn't get her mind right. And now my partner and actually the executive producer of the film, who is the creator and the writer of the book Playing Dirty, Kiki Swenson, she pulled me outside, was like, yo, I'm about to replace Sasha. Right? And I'm like, yo, man. So she pulled Sasha outside and put it right on the line, like, listen, Wes told you, and I told her too, I said, I told you not to bring your boyfriend even to the table read. And she bought him. And it just messed everything up from the beginning. So we saw it right then and there. And not only that, he's making other people feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a boyfriend no more. He's making other people feel uncomfortable. You know, we have, you know, this character, she's the main character. So this character, she had actually sex scenes or intimate scenes with 3 different actors in the film. And all 3 of them, this dude's sizing all 3 of them up. Every chance he got, he's standing in the corner trying to look, you know. And I'm sitting there like, dude. And I told her, you know, so we pulled her aside, and Kiki was like, listen, I don't know what's going on with you, but you got to get it together, or else, you know, it's out. You're out. You know what I mean? Because she's like, I put too much money into this. We haven't started shooting yet, so we can actually replace you now. You know? And from that point, Sasha, you know, got it together, and I mean, she was good, but that was a problem. And then when we shot in Atlanta, so that was in New York. We shot in Atlanta, the scene that would be the very first sex scene, actually, that opens the movie. And once again, she showed up with this dude, you know. But like when she pulled in, we shot it at a hotel room. We shot at a hotel in Atlanta. When she pulls into the parking lot and I see this dude get out the car, I said, "Oh, God damn it!" So I'm like, I said, Sasha, I said, I sure hope this gentleman will be staying in the room, your room, while we do this shoot, right? She's like, okay, yeah, he will. Now, when we shot the sex scene in New York, that was the one that I showed you the clips from, or the pictures. He didn't come at all. I think she might have been broken up with him by then. Yeah, I'm not sure, but he didn't come because we had to fly her back to New York, and he didn't come. But the whole point is, when you have that other person, the significant other, and they're not in the business, they don't understand the business side of it or the art form, like you said, Michael. It's just so bad. It is the number one thing. So that became a rule of mine. Any actor out there that's watching, listening, I have a no spouse rule, period. It doesn't matter if you are just on set. I don't care if you're on camera for 2 minutes, 1 minute, 20 seconds. No spouse rule. If your spouse happens to be like your manager or something like that, then they should understand the business. Then that's fine. Yeah. I could deal with that because they understand.
Now, what about if 2 co-stars start hooking up while you're filming?
Well, that happened to me too. I got an answer for that. That happened to me too. All right. So, like I said, when I was shooting the film Rebel, the two stars of the film, they linked up and got together before the end of the film, which what happened kind of ruined the film because she, as the actress, she had an intimate scene with another person. And it was so whack. It was that whack that I didn't put in the film. I was like, this is terrible. But I learned the hard way. That was my first feature film that I ever shot. and I was like, just now I know, never, never, ever again. You know, and that's what it is. So I let people know that from the day I cast you, you know that there is a no spouse rule. Period.
I always thought.
What was you gonna say, Diana?
I always thought that was standard though. Like I worked with Simon West on Wild Card, and I worked on like a few like bigger things in like New Orleans, and like there was a sign-in sheet, and if you were not in that sign-in sheet, you weren't allowed in. And no ifs, ands, or buts. Even with you're being nice with a spouse that's a manager, because manager work that needs to be done outside of the actual set. The set to me,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, the set to me, that set is church, and we go to pray, and the people that are there to pray are the people that are like on that script, and everybody that's putting it together. We're the priests, we're the nuns, we are setting up church. And if you're not here to pray, then you can come after. We can have brunch, but not at church. Like
Yeah, I mean that's a great idea, because I mean, how many times have we been as actors and actresses or filmmakers even been on set, and somebody who's not even part of the production is distracting to actors, filmmakers, and whatnot. It's like, what the hell are you doing here?
Right.
Yeah, I like that concept.
Wrong here. Like, I'm sorry. Like the sacredness of that script and the responsibility that we have to make that script real, nothing should get in the way. We are having sex with that script. We are having babies with that script. We are marrying that script, living with that script, and dying with that script. No mofo needs to come in and have us have an affair or like screw around with it. And that's how I feel about being on set. Debbie knows. Debbie, will I bring anybody on set?
Never.
I won't, because they'll mess with me. I won't even bring people to film festivals because they don't know what the hell to do. They're like, I'm like, I'm there to sell a film. I am there to promote my director, my producer, and my film. I don't need somebody like a ball and chain on my thing going, look at this guy. I'm like, I'm not here to say hi to people. I'm here to sell a film. I'm at the Can Marché going to sell a bitch. Like, that's what I'm doing.
I've only had
one
of my films, and they actually had to bring like 4 of her kids with her, but it was in her contract and whatever. And they were great, and they were, but it just, I've never really had anybody just bring somebody to set, because that wouldn't be cool.
I wonder how this is all like sex scenes and stuff like that. How people feel now in these times with COVID and stuff like too. If it's
that's going to be a problem,
right?
Yeah, I have to talk to my actors.
That's going to be a problem.
We're doing one more episode of. I hope to do one more scene of a couple of guys to finish out the 3rd episode. And I don't actually have to have the actors touch in this one. They might, just very quickly, a quick peck on the cheek. Because at this point they're married, and, it's one surprises the other one with brunch. So, I don't have to worry about that. But, the short that I'm going to do, I'm probably going to have to put that off. I just look into my eyes, because this is a really sexy movie, So it's, that's going to have to until things get a little better.
The new world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that it would bring about like?
No, that's a great point.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it would bring about a need though for us to really and truly be more dedicated as actors to say, look, we're going to all quarantine together for 2 weeks, and then we're going to start.
I can't afford to have them do that. See, the problem is going to be the names that I work with are not. I can't afford to pay them to not work for 14 days, or if they're in a series. Yeah. My concern is if they're in a series and the series is ongoing the same time I'm doing this, they may have in their contract they can't do anything else, because that's where they're working next to nothing, Right. But that's what. So if I do, just look into my eyes, I will. If I do it, and the actors agree, I will do it before they go back to their series. So it's not going to be an issue. So that is going to be another thing, because like again, names are. It's almost always a favor. Because I never have money, so it's like they work with me, or they're a friend or whatever.
I'll always fly up.
Do it.
So yeah, here's the other thing. I know that there's like a 6-foot rule, but it's more so like the face that you don't want to be around. Do you think that this sounds really disgusting, but I'm trying to be as objective as possible. Do you think that there are going to be more fellatio shots and cunnilingus shots given this, since you're more so down there and you're not going to have to be up here?
Maybe.
You think?
It's a thing.
Possibly. That's not, it's not disgusting, because that's actually, I thought about that actually. Yeah, I thought about that actually, because,
like,
it's the whole face-to-face.
You just stay there. So
Yeah, exactly. No, it makes sense. It makes sense, and that's a great point because, it's gonna be tough going forward. I have a series, I have a web series called Groupie that I've been developing, and we're gonna start shooting. And I mean, this is gonna be tough. As far as the quarantine stuff, because like some of even the bigger productions, I know a gentleman, one of my DP friends, he just got on a series, and he said that they're quarantining, they like got quarantine together. You know what I mean? Like they're getting tested if the shoot is like a month, they get tested every week, like every 4 days, every 5. I'm like, wow, it's like wow. But so that's the point, because the problem is the trust factor, right? There's always a trust factor there that you have to, that clean time. It's like, hey, you can show up to set like, hey, I got my negative COVID test. It's like, but the trust factor kicks in, and you're like, well, what did you do on your way here?
Well, see,
did you
recently,
did you get exposed on the way to the
3
set?
different films, and I feel like the filmmakers that are making films right now too, I've had the conversation with them a little bit, I guess off professionalism, and there's always that awkward conversation, like, how do you feel about COVID right now? And most of the filmmakers that I feel like that have casted me are kind of the people who are just like, I'm fucking over it. I really don't care about it. So this is gonna be the set kind of thing. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, so John just shot a pilot, and they were checking their temperatures and handing in surveys. And I'm actually quarantining right now. John and I are, because I went to go see my parents in Florida, so we're stuck in a house for 2 weeks. Luckily, we like each other. But the day that the quarantine's lifted, we're shooting a short for somebody. And it's even though we're in phase 4, this is completely a phase 2 project. It's only 2 actors. We're only going to have, I think, 3 or 4 members tops. So the writer is like, well, have her touch. I said, nobody's touching anybody. I said, and you're not touching anybody, and you're going to stay where that tape mark is, or you're not coming to set.
Nobody's touching anybody.
Yeah, that painter's tape putting down marks is going to be real handy now.
Absolutely. So that's what that's how we're going to do this, and I feel comfortable doing it. It's again, it's just going to be so small that we can easily control it. One guy for sound. John's going to be not only the shooter, but he's going to be his own gaffer, and he's going to be the AD too, because we don't have an AD. And we're just 2 actors. We've already been
many hats filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean it's so that'll get done. And his pilot, they took some precautions, not maybe completely. And then he did another show where there was they put out a buffet, everything wrong you're supposed to, Yeah. But that wasn't SAG, so they could get away with a lot more. But he was still careful. Like he said, I ate first, and I stayed away from the food, and I stayed over where I had to, and did what I had to do. But
I actually had one production shut down recently because somebody did test positive, and they didn't say that it was somebody that we worked with on that day. Mm-hmm. So they started filming this a month ago, or a month and a half ago, and it could have been somebody that was tested positive that I didn't even work with or see on set, because the day I was on set, I mean, it was only 3 of us plus a 3-person crew. Mm-hmm. But because there was a positive reading of somebody on set, they shut down the whole production until further notice.
That's what's going to happen, you know.
And that sucks because things change over the course of a month, and new projects come along. So it's gonna be tough for filmmakers. Really, really tedious.
I'm happy we're only doing that one extra day. And I spoke to because a couple of guys we started years ago. Somebody else was shooting it, and John said, "Yeah, let him keep shooting it. I'll be his gaffer." And when I said, "Do you think we can get in?" Because he had to put his wedding off, because the AD for a couple of guys in the DP are getting married, so they could put their wedding off again until next year. I said, "Well, you think we can get in that one last scene to finish off the episode?" He goes, "Yeah, but I won't go inside." They're both from the city. And I said, okay, so now we worked it out. We're gonna be in my friend's backyard, and and set that up for the scene, and then do it that way. So you got to make everybody comfortable. Just like with sex scenes. You have to make,
it's gonna be tough.
I think that there has
segued into that.
I think that there need to be laws though with auditioning. Like I auditioned for this role. I got the role. It was a great project. And I was doing other projects. I had my mask on. I was very, very safe. And then I got a phone call. And they're like, we're sorry, we're going to switch you out with somebody else because there were pictures of you on Facebook on another set, but you had your mask on, but some of the actors don't feel safe.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Wow,
I feel like, as an actor, when I go over and I am accepting my role, there are a lot of other things that I'm not doing. Even amidst COVID, there are a lot of things that I'm not doing. There has to be some type of rule that they have to come up with saying, if I'm going to audition you, there's no way that I can go over and you're not going to be, it's like a pair play, right? Remember like the pair rule?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I was on set and I had my mask on. I was very, very safe, but just that they saw me on a different set and it wasn't in isolation, that wasn't in my contract. Like if they weren't like, you need to isolate yourself. Just because of that, they said, sorry, like we want the actors feel safer with somebody else. And it just so happened it was that person's sister or something. Like I was like, that's really awkward. That's weird.
A directing job I just got was because somebody was looking for a director, and a couple of people had recommended somebody that we know. And he went to her set and then said, oh, I'm not going to work with her. And then somebody else had recommended me, and he contacted me, and he didn't know I knew about what had happened with the other one. I would never work. He goes, I work for EMS. I work for the fire. I'm never, I do hazmat. I'm never going to work somewhere that's safe. And then he, asked me how we were going to handle this, and I told him exactly how we're doing the smaller things. His is much bigger, and I explained that this is what we're going to have to change because we don't know when this is going to open up. So it's, but he knows that we take it very seriously. And John is actually, we both got those little certificate courses, but he actually took a certification. So he's already getting called on projects in the city, but we're quarantining right now. Right. So he will always be, when we can on the smaller sets, if he's not shooting it, he's going to be the COVID person, because
I wonder what the porn industry is like right now.
Speaking
of sexy, what the porn industry is doing.
Well, that's funny you mentioned.
Well, they're probably not union, first of all. So
Ralph.
Hi, Ralph. How are you doing?
I'm good. How is everybody?
Yeah.
So okay, we'll have to say this. So Ralph, my buddy Ralph here, he actually works in the adult industry. He's in that world, so he can answer that question for you, Michael. How is the adult industry right now with COVID going on, Ralph? Give us a rundown.
The thumb comes off and goes right over the mouth. I get it.
Well, that's very easy. The adult industry, to a large degree, is just shut down. Damn. We are really not doing anything with anybody.
Really?
Right. You just can't. And
that's why we're in the stage of like OnlyFans and stuff, and from home stuff, webcam.
Exactly. I mean, and don't get me wrong. To a degree, the only type of pornographic material that you could actually make that is somewhat safe is beyond solos, is some kind of fetish material, because that can be done with some sort of distancing. You don't have to have a large film crew on set, and you're not really, to sound graphic, injecting a part of your body into another person. You're not physically doing that one.
Right.
You're doing some sort of spanking or something, but no type of really hardcore sex. But we as an industry have not figured out a way to actually go back to doing boy, girl, any type of scenes where physical contact actually happens. We haven't figured it out. Now our industry, we test more than just, I think the only people that test more than us are probably professional athletes. But we can test all day long and we can take the COVID test. But the main thing that you can't overcome is someone's fear. and it's the fear of the unknown. Because I can sit here, I can sit here, I can give you every single test that you need, and give you my results. That says I'm COVID-19 clean, I'm HIV negative, I'm negative for this, and this. But the thing with difference between our standard tests that we take for sexually transmitted diseases is that we all know how to prevent that from happening. This COVID right now, we have no idea how to stop that because that's simply just you going breathing. That's really the easiest way for anybody to catch it. And you obviously you can't feel something. You have to breathe in order to live. You know, it doesn't look good on camera to do scenes with masks.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, some people are into that. Some people pay good money for that. You know.
yes, they do. Yes, they do. But in our industry, that is the minority part of the industry. That is not the majority.
Yeah, of course.
So we have a very big problem. So you're right, Michael. The website OnlyFans and cam companies have been making mucho bucks because that is the safest way for people to do content and not be quarantined, be safe, not interact with people. Is the best way for them to do it. But when are we going to go back to us doing hardcore scenes or even to a degree softcore scenes? We have no idea.
Wait,
None.
so time out. What if you ended up getting a house and you had a voyeur house and you had the quarantine for 2 weeks and everybody tested negative and it's just a sex house with pictures and video cameras everywhere? Could you do that?
That is Ralph's house already.
It's kind of like Big Brother with sex, right?
that is a vastly different story. I mean, I answer that question. I have been saying
like Big Brother XXX.
Yeah, I mean, they're
I have said many times that if you do or do not have COVID-19 and you are within this business, but you are living with somebody, then by all means go ahead and film with the person you live with, because if you have it, they have it. If you don't have it, they don't have it, vice versa. However, what you're not going to do is you're not going to be paying people to come from other states to come to your house to film, because that's where the X factor starts to lie in. Like, how do you do that one? Because you don't know what that person has been doing because they're not there. You know what the person laying next to you or in your other bedroom, you know what they're doing. If you haven't gone out the house, they haven't gone out the house. If you've gone out the house, they've gone out the house. So what they have, you have.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, like, what if you bought, or if like you had somebody, like, I don't know, what is it, got
like
married?
rent out an Airbnb or something.
Yeah,
like an Airbnb. That's exactly what I plan on doing with Groupie. Yeah.
Well, then that would be fine. But
exactly what I plan on doing with Groupie.
That
Sorry to cut you off, Rob. I'll just say it. I was answering her.
All right, real quick. I'm gonna head out, everybody.
Everybody's cutting each other off because we're like going back and forth.
Dare much love, Wes. Thanks for having me here. Nice to meet everybody. But I'm heading out. I'm actually in Atlantic City right now.
Yeah.
So I gotta head down to the casino floor.
All right, we're about to wrap up anyway. Yeah, we're about to wrap up the show, but definitely, man. Thank you for joining.
All right, guys.
Take care.
Peace.
Good night. Good night.
Yeah. Good. We're about to wrap up the show anyway, but go ahead, Ralph.
But to answer that question, if you had a house where, let's say you say, okay, I want us to all film a bunch of scenes. I'm going to have 5 girls and 5 guys. You'd have to test everybody before they got to the house. And then let's just say for sake of this that everybody tested negative. No sexually transmitted disease, no COVID-19. Once you're in the house, you can't leave. Once you leave, you're out the house. That's just it. Now there are exceptions. I mean, obviously, if you have to go walk your dog, and then you might have an extra person to handle things like that, to walk the dog, make food runs, drugstore runs, bodega runs, whatever you need. That's what they'll do, right? And that the actors themselves don't leave the house for any minor reasons. If it's a major reason, like let's say someone gets hurt, then obviously yes, you have to leave the house.
Yeah, obviously.
Like I was watching Real Sports a couple of weeks ago, and there's a player that plays for the Kansas City Chiefs that's also a doctor. Now what he does is that now the season is off, he's still going to being a doctor. So what he does is that he gets up, he goes to work, But when he leaves work, now he's been dealing with the COVID-19. He has a separate apartment where he goes to his apartment where it's just his apartment. He just had a baby. So him and his wife and his child are separated. So he has this extra apartment. He goes there. He showers. He puts his clothes in the laundry, right, to wash them. He puts on brand new clothes, and then after he does that, then he goes home, right? Because he said, I don't want to take the chance to be bringing this back because I'm surrounded by people that possibly may be COVID-19 and bringing it back to my wife. So no, I got a halfway house where I'll clean myself up. So when I get there, if I do have it on my body, I have now washed off. My clothes are clean. So and these are brand new clothes, so I don't have to worry about the problem. That might have to be a future for certain industries down the line. Porn industry, film industry, music. I was just having a discussion earlier. I said I actually absolutely have no idea how you're going to start bringing Broadway plays back. I don't see how you're going to do that right now.
That's true.
That's a very big problem.
Oh, it's going to be tough, man. Theater is going to be tough too. Yeah, that's very intimate. Theater is a very intimate setting. It always
and we
is.
Haven't
If anyone who's done theater, or even if you just, you've worked on it, whatever. Theater, they're very intimate setting. They're very tight knit groups. They're usually moving equipment around, moving furniture around. They do everything. Like on set. Like they're acting. They're moving furniture when they're not acting. They all take part in the production. So it's now because of that though, could be a positive thing. Because maybe once again, as Diana mentioned, they would have to be that tight-knit group in one place, one location. It's just gonna be so tough. I don't look forward to it at all.
But even with that one, if it's a theater production company, and you say, okay, we're all going to be together while we're doing this play, how are you going to house everybody together in a Broadway theater? Are you going to turn it back into living quarters where they don't leave? I mean, like
that's where it's like, I seriously, it sounds like we're going to be monks. It's like being an actor is going to be a vocation, and it is going to be a vocation where you're going to have to be in your like little monastery. Like that's what it's like if you really wanted to do it.
Except Wes, this actually might, if we're really lucky, bode well for independent filmmakers who make a film with 10 people or less, as opposed to needing 150 people on set. So that's, I think it went up to 25, and now I think we're past 25 as long as you follow certain restrictions. But the next two films I'm doing are both, like I said, even though we're in phase 2, and we might, even though we're in phase 4 and past that, and right now I'm only going to do phase 2 films. So you have 10 people or less, plus with social distancing, plus with you have a COVID person and whatever, and that's all I'm going to do right now. Until things get better.
If you go up to New York, do you have to quarantine for 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's why we're stuck in the house for 2 weeks.
Okay, that's what I was like. Okay, stay at my place.
I got that too.
Yeah. So, like I said, luckily we like each other. I thank God we have like a backyard and everything because, I feel bad for all my friends who have apartments. And my DP said he hasn't been more than two blocks from his apartment since this started. And the film that I'm doing the day after we finish quarantine, the first 2 actresses I asked, because I have been wanting to work with both of them, they both said, can I think about it? And both got back to me and said, we really want to do it. But we can't. Same thing. We haven't left. We haven't left our apartment, and we're not comfortable taking public transportation. And so I hired a local actress. Who's great. So yeah, I mean, Diana, I can't even hire you right now because you'll have to stay somewhere for 2 weeks.
I have a place to stay, Deb. So just freaking tell me. I'll just stay with Erwin, or my place up in the Upper West Side. So you just tell me. No, but no, you're right.
There you go. That works.
That I just thought about that though. To go from the airport into the city to my apartment on the Upper West Side, that's like subway, taxi, and I would have to. I would probably have to get a rental. I'd be safer with Erwin right now, just to go over and stay with Erwin in Terrytown rather than being in the city, because that's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I live here in New Jersey, but since this
it really is.
I haven't been back to Manhattan. I have yet to set foot in Manhattan since March.
Wow.
I'm just not going over there. And I'm talking about, I mean, I could drive to Manhattan and drive around Manhattan, but who wants to be driving around Manhattan and not get out to do anything?
Do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be tough. I mean, the fact that was brought up right now, it's so tough going forward, man. I'm trying to think of every possible thing. Like I said, you know, it's tough to house. You know, us being independent filmmakers, Debs. You know, it's tough to we don't have the budget to house everybody. Like I mean, in a perfect world, you get them all in the because like they're shooting. Like for instance, a friend of mine who managed the actress Drew Sidora, they're all shooting like I guess one of these housewives shows, whatever, like the Real Housewives or whatever, right? And so the rules for that is same deal. They're testing every like Wednesday or whatever, but they got everyone in that house. They can't leave. I believe it's in their contracts. You know, they can't leave if anything like that. Same deal with when we had David Chin on the show. He is a stunt man. Even with stunt players, same deal. He's like, listen, right now they're hiring stunt crews. They crew up, and that's it. Like for a series, if you don't get on in the beginning of the series, you're not getting it. And that actually for actors too, that's kind of unfortunate because you might be able, I'm sure you get a lot of, y'all could get a lot of work doing, an appearance on a series, but they're kind of sticking to like series regulars. Like it's so much. It's so unfortunate.
It's like the studio system where like studios had their little group of actors. It's like, you better make sure that you have your click because if you don't have your click, sorry. So
unfortunate because there was so much TV work out there. Everybody was getting their first guest.
It's going to be interesting to pull this off, Debs. I'm going to be checking.
Oh,
yeah. TV.
There you are.
TV work was always good for stunt players, stunt actors as well as. Is so now that's kind of taken away with this thing, man. It's going to be real interesting to see how we move forward on this. I'm going to be definitely checking in with you on that, Debs. Before we go, Jeff, I want to thank everybody for joining the panel. This is a very cool conversation. I definitely want you guys to have an opportunity to shout out. I always say, unfortunately, the other ones, they had to leave. Shout out your social media and things that need you. And if you got any projects coming up, Diana, what you got? Well, we know the COVID has got everybody shut down. Is there anything that you have maybe pending?
So there are a few like Hallmark movies that they're shooting down here. I can't necessarily say them just yet. And there is a horror film taking part down here, but I mean, Florida is kind of like, what are we doing? As far as what I'm doing with my life,
I know. Yeah, I'm in Florida too, so I feel your pain.
I'm just studying, but social media, Diana Durango 813 on Instagram. I'm Diana Durango on Facebook. Yeah, that's about it. I'm trying to figure out if I want to move. So like I'm like, do I want to move back up to New York? Do I want to go to Atlanta? Like what the heck am I doing right now?
Yes, you do want to move back to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you, Deb. I love you.
I think I might be right behind you. I'm like, I should have never left New York. I mean, that's a whole other story with Florida, what the heck they're doing down here. So, Debs, now I know you did mention what you got things coming up, but
my social media, Instagram is at Deborah Markowitz Film. My company is Intention Films and Media, so the website is intentionfilmsandmedia.com. And my Facebook is facebook.com/Deborah, actually Intention Films and Media. So there's all that. For the film festival, the Long Island International Film Expo.
Wait. Let me get that. Deb?
She froze.
She froze up.
Deb?
She froze.
There you go.
No, you stopped at Long Island International Film Festival.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's longislandfilm.com. And I've got a short film I'll be directing as soon as I get out of quarantine called Fourth Row Center. And a couple of guys, I hope to do the last scene for the third episode come September, October. I'm going to say probably October now. And it's definitely got to be October. We won't have time to do it now. My website's intentionfilmsandmedia.com. And then I'm also got some writing jobs lined up. So I'll probably be spending a lot of time writing after the next couple of months.
We need to move to New York to be with Deb. You understand this? We need to be with Deb. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, gee whiz. Well, I definitely, this was a cool conversation, a cool show, period. I definitely thank you both. Thank everyone that came on. It was some, sharing your stories. That was always, that's always good to hear, man. I feel your pain and I feel your joy at the same time. And I tell you, I miss being on set, but we got to figure out how to get past this COVID thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you got major productions that are shut down to next year. If not, it's like, I don't know, maybe Canada might be the answer. They're in like phase 4 of reopening. Plus it's cheaper to shoot there. Maybe we need to move our productions to Canada and shoot there.
They don't want us.
Toronto, Debs, is only 8 hours away.
Nobody's letting us go anywhere. Canada's no. Everybody's no to Americans because we're such screw-ups.
Canada didn't even want Toronto playing in the stadium. They told them, said, no, you're not playing in our stadium. Get out.
The borders are shut.
Yeah, we need to go
us out.
Yeah.
There's something very karmic about that. We're not allowed to go anywhere else. Nobody wants us.
Horrible. That is karma. That is such karma.
Oh man.
I would have, but
so definitely, I'm definitely gonna.
Go ahead.
Say that again.
I said I wanted to go see my family in Colombia. I'm Colombian. So no, they won't even let us in. Isn't that horrible? The Colombians will not let us in.
Wow. That's hilarious. No one's letting us in, so it's not just them. No one's letting us in. They want us to stay where the heck we at. So I don't know. I would be checking in with both of y'all. Just checking in and seeing your progress. Once again, I definitely thank y'all for coming through. Y'all have a good night. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debs.
Thank you, Wes.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
You're off.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So
good people.
Yeah, Blog Talk actually cut off. Yeah, that was good people, right? So we'll end the show over here because Blog Talk was kind of like, I don't know, it counted down and then it went off. Like sometimes they do that. They actually end the show on time. But anywho, yeah, man, it's gonna be tough. I'm glad you brought that up. What you pointed out about the adult industry, because I actually wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about that, and that kind of surprised me because you do have some people that have like their tribe of people. You know what I mean? And you do have some upon actors that are in relationships or they live together or whatever. You would think maybe they're making films at least, But this thing that shows you right there. Nobody tests more than the porn industry.
No, but even when you live with somebody, there's only so many different things that you could legitimately do. Because if you live with someone, let's say you do have access to video, 4K video camera, some lights, and a still camera. Most people are not able to in their place they live in. They're not doing anything with green screen, special effects, and you can only film. You can only get so many different types of scenes out of people with a limited amount of budget. It's just a little harder to do. But that's not sitting there saying that there aren't different people out there that have been shooting, because they have. They have.
Yeah.
They take it. They decide to say, the rewards outweigh the risk, and you have an opportunity. I'm gonna just roll with it, and whatever happens, happens. Now that is going to be a cause for a lot of things, but Hollywood, to a degree, is not going to take those kind of risks.
No,
they're not.
No,
because could you imagine what would happen if someone was on set and that movie you with Halle Berry, let's say they were still filming that, and they said, well, we'll take the risk, and Halle Berry comes on set, and they having this MMA movie where she's going to be fighting somebody, whatever, and somebody gets sick or possibly dies. Could you imagine what's going to happen to the studio and Halle Berry herself? Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. No one. I said the same thing about the movie theaters. No one wants to be that first one that represents something like that. The first movie theater, I say it every week. The first movie theater, and I hope I'll say knock on wood, because I hope it doesn't happen to them. Because you want the movie theaters to prosper and get back into shape. But the first movie theater where someone went there and reports COVID, and it's reported into the news, I'm telling you, they are done. Movie theater are done. That particular theater is definitely done, and it's really going to kill it for the rest of the theaters. That's the worst fear that every industry has, that they go back to work too early, so to speak. They go back to work. I mean, hell, that's why most of these jobs, office jobs and everything else, they're staying with work from home for now, because you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that company that sends your workers back to work, and then it's like, oh man, somebody gets sick. So we have to really be out of it.
No, nobody wants to be that person or that company. You don't want that negative attention. You don't want to turn the tide of public attention that could potentially harm you further down the line. You don't want to do that one. Like, I was even watching ESPN the other day. No, not ESPN. Bill Maher, and he had Simon Cowhead on his show, and they, because sports are right now, they are playing. Now basketball right now is playing with in a bubble, but with no fans. But baseball is playing with no fans, but they're playing in stadiums. So what he's saying is that I don't understand why I can, if you want to put social distancing, why I am not able to go see a baseball game. But you have restaurants that have outdoor seating. So when he said, I said, damn, he got a good point, because if you can go to a restaurant, think about it, if you can go to a restaurant which has, even though it has outdoor seating, it's still limited seating. But you can go to an outdoor restaurant and eat without a mask on, sit there at the table without a mask on. Then why can't you go to an outdoor game such as baseball, which is outdoors? It's not enclosed like in basketball. It's not enclosed. It's outdoors. Why can't they have that where you do have stadium not filled to capacity with people, but you do have fans in the stadium, and you are actually able to have social distancing? And the average baseball stadium, I believe the average baseball stadium seats about 40,000 people. Even if you had it at 25% capacity, right? That's 10,000 people. Okay. That's even with social. Let's say even with social distancing, you still knock it down to 5,000. That's still 5,000 people that are in the stands that are socially safe, that do not have to wear masks. Does the virus is say, oh well, you're sitting there having that chicken chicken parmesan with a glass of Moet, so no, we're not going to give the virus. But if you're in the baseball city having a hot dog, oh yeah, we're going to give it to you. No, it doesn't say that. Viruses don't do like that. Viruses affect you no matter what you do. You just don't.
Yeah.
So he has a very good point now. But movie theaters, concerts, well, most concerts, Broadway, they're all indoors. So I understand how do you do that safely. And you're right. You don't want to be AMC or Radio City Music Hall where you're having something and somebody gets sick and possibly dies, and they pinpoint that to, well, you were the cause. This venue was the cause of that person getting sick.
Yeah.
Because
you don't
one
want
person got
if
sick,
you if that happens, whoo.
Right? Because if one person there got sick, then everybody got sick. Now, if they're going to sit there and say, now, when I say movie theater's supposed to be open on Friday, they're supposed to be open on Friday, right? They're going to have it at 25% capacity. Okay. They're going to implement that you have to have mask on. Okay. But once again, you sit there and now what I understand they're going to do is that if you agree to buy the ticket, then you assume the risk where you cannot come back and sue the company if you get sick. So what they're basically telling you, say, okay, you really want to see this movie, you can see the movie, but there is a high risk that potentially something might happen to you. You might catch COVID-19. We have our security, like
crazy.
No mask, no food, no nothing, right? Because I don't think they're going to have concession stands open. So you buy the ticket, you walk in, you see a movie, and you walk out. You keep your mask on, right? But if you buy this ticket, you assume the responsibility, and you are not able to sue us. Now you're leaving that in the hands of the public. So if you bought the ticket, okay. Same way as like if you go out there and you go buy you a car, right? Now the car can have all kinds of safety features on the car, right? But even if you're doing 25 miles an hour and you making that left onto the main road, and some jackass comes up there and he's doing 95, he plows into you, even if someone survives or somebody dies, you can't sue the car company. You can't. Because you accept the responsibility of the car. You can sue the person, but you can't sue the car company. Now in this case, you can't. With that being said, if you were in an AMC and you caught COVID, right, and you bought the tickets, and you can't sue AMC. You can't sue anybody because you have no idea who the hell was in the theater. I don't think theaters are going to be sitting there and giving people a temperature test. They're not going to do that. At least I don't think they would. Now, in hindsight, they may sit there and say because we're reducing the capacity, having people come in here, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do stuff like that. We're going to have someone there to take people's temperatures when they walk in the building to reduce the risk even further. That sounds like a great idea in principle. In principle, that may not be the reality.
Yeah, because unfortunately, this thing spreads when before it can spread before you even start getting symptoms. That's the bad part about it. You know what I'm saying? The virus can spread even before you start getting symptoms, or if you're asymptomatic, that's really the problem. So it's just they're taking a big risk. Ralph, I'm telling you, they're taking a big risk. Even with, I don't care if they're giving away the tickets, they're taking a huge risk, and it's very possible that it could backfire on them. Let's hope not, but it's very possible with that. Once again, our guest tonight, Yelsinia, we had Michael, Deborah, Diana. I mean, it was all cool, man. Like just having them come up and give their experiences on set. Before we end the show, let's run our list down. Did you have a chance to compose your list?
I do, but actually, I would like to hear what your list is first, because I don't, like I said, I don't know what the criteria was, and I wanted to hear what yours and Kevin's list was before I gave you mine, just to see what's on there.
All right, no problem. What I'll do is, I have. Let me see. I had some screenshots. Let me see if I can share my screen. And give me a second here. What is for my list? Well, I gave one of them that was on the list, and that was give me this here. That was Wild Things. That was on I think my number 5. Right. All of mine is like, most of mine were like what I considered hot sex scenes, not per se too crazy or whatever you want to call it, revealing nudity, which that's fine. That could be on your list too. So Wild Things was number 5. Number 4, because I just thought that scene was so hot, man, with those 3. Number 4 was that is from The Sea of Love. Ellen Barkin, Al Pacino. That scene is funny. I wanted to bring that up. I should have brought that up when they were on all the other ones was on. Ellen Barkin talked about that scene. She said Al Pacino was like, he was so nervous. Like he's not comfortable shooting scenes like that, And Ellen Barkin. So that was a very, very hot scene. As you can see, he's fully clothed pretty much, but she's not. And I mean, this scene was just so well shot. Look at the lighting on it. You know what I mean? Well shot scene. And those type of scenes to me is like, stand out. That was number 4. Number 3 for me was, we talked about it, Fatal Attraction. Once again, a couple people mentioned that. I think Yosenia said that was on her list. That's like one of her favorites. I just think the scene was realistic. You know what I mean? It's like, let's not all get stripped down and prolong everything. Let's just get to it. Throw up on the sink.
I got a funny story about that.
Dishes in the sink.
I actually met Glenn Close one time. When I came back in the country, I met Glenn Close one night at the Broadway premiere of Cat on the Hot Tin Roof. She was out there with her husband. And I walked up to her and I asked her, if I could take a picture with her, but she said, no, I'm sorry, I gotta run. I said, listen, I just want to tell you, you are the reason why I have never cheated on anybody. And she was like, what? I said, your character in Fatal Attraction scared me so bad that it made me decide I would never ever cheat on anybody because I don't want anybody ever killing my kid's cat, my kid's rabbit. And she started laughing, right? But this is the thing, she started laughing, then she looked at me like she was out. She was like, and you better never ever do it. And she just walked off. And I was like, crap.
That's great. That's awesome. That is awesome, dude. I would. Yeah, she was great in that film, man.
Yeah,
she was great in that film, and I mean that film set the bar for all these other films that we've been seeing. All these other films of the this and that, and there's so many films. Even the film that was just trending a couple, like last month or whatever, with Omar Epps and Nia Long. Like any of those type of films, you always compare it. It comes back to this right here, Fatal Attraction. So that was my number 3. Number 2 is once again Michael Douglas again, and that is Basic Instinct. All right, Basic Instinct. The scene with him and her, that had several sex scenes in it, but the scene with him and her when they finally have their sex scene, because like I said, mine is what goes along with the story. This dude, what was cool about it was obviously this dude knew the character I'm talking about. He knew that he should not have been in the bed with this woman because he had no idea if she was the killer or not. And just the thrill. Obviously the passion of being in this scene with her, but then when she flips him over and she gets on top and she basically ties his arms, she acts out she acts out the scenes from her book. You know what I'm saying? She's acting out things from the book, which is freaking him out. Because he's thinking in his mind, oh my God, is she gonna kill me? You know what I mean? You know, so the fact that he, you know, still went through with it, and you wouldn't know, even the viewer, we had no idea if she was gonna kill him, and you pretty much figure she wasn't at that point, at least. And she does it again at the end, and that's when people was like, oh, and you know, that's one of my favorite films, actually. Basic Instinct, because it was just really, it was done really well too. And once again, the lighting on this scene was good. You know, very passionate scene. And my number one is 9.5 Weeks. That was always one of my favorite films. Sex scenes when they're in the alleyway and it's raining and they just getting it in. Kim Basinger and Mickey Rourke. 9.5 Weeks. Always one of my favorite films, you know, from back in the day. I picked that scene because look at this shot. That shot is awesome, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at that shot. You got the light coming in. There's the rain. It's perfect. So that was my number one. With that one, you know what I mean? I mentioned,
That's a damn good list, man. Wow, a lot of that stuff I have. Some of that stuff I have on my list itself.
Okay.
But no, I should. I wish I would have told you earlier to do the share screen, because I would have pulled that up too. Can I do? Oh,
I don't know
no,
if
I
you can
can't.
share
I
the
can't do
screen,
it.
no.
I think I can, but do that. But even though I mentioned on my list Leaving Las Vegas, that's one of the ones that I felt was good. But I really went for some nudity and some sensuality, you know, in it. So my number 5, and I'm still hard with this thing, but my number 5 would be The Dreamers with Eva Green and Michael Pitt, where
I love Eva
she
Green
plays
too.
She plays this very. Yes, I do too. She is so smoking.
She is smoking. She is smoking.
And her
everything she's in.
Yeah, her and her brother. Yeah, everything. Where her and her brother are bringing this third guy into the thing, and she's playing love like she's all sexually, you know, free and inhibited. But the first time they had sex, finds out that she's actually a virgin, right? But then over the course, the sex play between her and the guy Michael Pitt becomes more casual, and then the other brother, he gets involved in it. So like, there's a scene where 3 of them are in a bathtub together, naked. There's another scene where like their parents come home. I mean, her parents come home and see the 3 of them passed out in the bed together, and it's just so free. And I think this is like Eva Green's very first movie. The level that she came with, and just the nudity and the sexuality, for me, that said a lot. That said a lot to me. Man, my number 4, because I'm looking at my list here.
That's dope.
My number 4 would be A History of Violence with Viggo Mortensen and Maria Bello.
That was on the list. That was one of my honorable mentions. That scene was dope. You talking about the one on the stairs, right? Is that the one you talking about?
One on the stairs. But it's 2. The one on the stairs is the one that's most memorable. But the first scene where they had sex before she finds out who he really is, come to find out that was the first time in a mainstream film that you ever saw a man and woman do a 69 on each other. It's the very first time.
I did not know that.
When you actually see that. So
I did not know that.
So that guy, but the scene on the stairs when she finds out who she is and she hates him and she still has sex with him was it's more like sex fighting, and then she just gives in because then she's like, but this is my husband. But then when it's all over, she realized that wait a minute, you've been lying to me our entire life. You've been lying to me our entire time. Our marriage, our kids, everything about you is a lie.
Joey.
Yeah, Joey. And she just leaves him there.
F you, Joey. And then she smacks him. Yeah.
Exactly, and just walks off.
Good.
Just walks off. My number 3 is
that was a good one. Good pick.
Out of Sight. Is Out of Sight with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. The heat coming from the two of them and the chemistry is just so great. Chemistry makes a difference, and no matter when you're doing movies, you can.
We talked about it at the top of the show. That's what we were saying. Chemistry is key when it comes to this stuff. If you don't have the chemistry, try to find it.
It is not. No, the tight like when they mentioned Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, that sex scene in Titanic works because you can see the chemistry between them. You know, Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, it works because you can see the chemistry between the two of them. It's not fake. It's not faked. Like if you look at the scene, I think Monster Ball with Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry, it does like chemistry, but is it really natural chemistry, or was it just action? Okay, once action over is over. Those two, Ghost and Titanic, you can actually see the chemistry, and that's what I feel about that scene. That you can really feel the chemistry, and also in that one you throw the Notebook too. Austin McAdams, chemistry. Yeah. But for me, that scene. Because and you don't see any the most nudity you see is maybe George Clooney's chest, but you see Jennifer Lopez taking off her dress, but all the stuff that led up to them actually getting into the bed together. That it was like we've been flirting around with this thing, you've been chasing me, I've been looking out for you, and now this is our moment. This is what it is. Right. My number 2 scene, and I know it's a sex scene, but it's different sex. It's Secretary with James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
The scene where he brings her into the office and tells her to bend over to read the letter that she keeps making errors on, and he starts slapping her ass. And the first time he does it, she looks at him like, "What?" And he just says, "Keep reading." And then as he keeps slapping it, she starts liking it more. But then it goes from a slap to a slap and a grab, a slap and a grab, a slap and a grab. And when it's all said and done, when she's walking out and she has the papers in her hands, and she just like, "Oh my God." And she drops it, and she goes in and she sees the big handprint on her ass. She's like, "I love him. I love him."
Yo, that's hilarious.
That was to me that was a cool scene, and that's the best reason. But Secretary, listen to all y'all out there that saw 50 Shades of Grey. Secretary is better than any of the 3 50 Shades of Grey movies. See Secretary. Forget 50 Shades of Grey. See Secretary. If you really want to see BDSM, see Secretary.
Yeah.
But my number 1, and I really had to grasp it because I got a couple of honorable mentions up in there, but I'm not going. I might have to bring that when Kevin comes on. We got to hear his list. But my number 1 sex scene, and this is going to be shocking, is Gone Girl with Rosamund Pike and Neil Patrick Harris.
Bro, I know exactly. That was, and I meant to bring that up earlier in the show because when they were talking about, making fun of the straight guy who has to play gay, I said, yeah. Well, I was just at that point. I thought about Neil Patrick Harris, who is gay, who always plays a straight character. I mean, when he was on How I Met Your Mother, he was a womanizer. That was his character. You know what I mean? He was always, talking about. So, yes, that scene in Gone Girl, it was so intense. It's so crazy.
I think now from that, I'm looking at it more of the non-sex, although there is sex in it, but I'm really looking at it from the visual standpoint that this woman who had this intricate plan to frame her husband, now the plan has been shot to hell, and she's like, I got to come up with something else quick. So she's with her ex-boyfriend, and she finally going to give him what he's been wanting. Is her. I'm finally going to give him what he wants. And you see, she said, "No, I want to do it harder." So it's all a setup. It's all a setup. And
Yeah,
he's having sex with her and he's losing it, and she pulls the razor out. And as soon as he says, "I'm coming," cut his throat. So he's sitting there bleeding, and she's still having sex with him. Then she turns him over to make him come, while blood has been poured all over her body, kills him, right? But it was the admin. She hops off of him and she sits there for a second and she starts to cry and she's like, nah, get back into my mode. I haven't seen anything that whacked since then or before that. Alex Foster in Fatal Attraction was close. She was close. But she wasn't that. She wasn't that. That was way like damn. You know,
crazy.
And I got some other mentions, you know, things that I saw that was like, wow. Certainly I would not be missed if one of the movies, and I'm sorry it couldn't make, if it was a top 10, it would have been there. But certainly Black Swan with Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis.
Nah, yeah.
That would be in my top 10. If it was a top 10, that would be in my top 10. I also put into my top 10 because you mentioned Sea of Love, Jade Love and Other Drugs was mentioned. I would also mention Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
I would mention that.
That was pretty. That was a good one too. I have an honorable mention that I didn't say was right here with once again Michael Douglas in the same movie actually in Fatal and Basic Instinct, the one that he did with what is her name? What's
Jean Triplehorn name? Jean Triplehorn.
Yeah, Jean Triplehorn. That scene with her was very hot too. Like I said, Michael Douglas is good at doing these realistic feeling scenes where he's like, now, but once again, not just the scene, just like you said, Ralph. Think of the story. At this point, he's all roused up about Catherine Trammell. He hasn't gotten with her yet. She's done, he's definitely thinking about hitting it. He gets with her, who he's been with plenty of times. Now he decides to switch it up and get a little rough with her. Throws her over the couch over there, starts giving it to her from behind, and then, even to the point where, even though she seemed to enjoy it, he says at the end of it, like it was different. You know what I'm saying?
Where
like
did that come from?
Could tell. Yeah, where did all that come from? He was letting out that Steve because he was imagining, Catherine Trammell, which is funny. Ironically, that's funny when Zasha. I remember she did a scene in the show with The Rock, the Ballers. It wasn't with The Rock, but it was with the guy. I forget his name too, but he's the big guy. But anyway,
he was in 8 Mile.
He that's in 8 Mile, yeah. And there's that scene where he's like having sex with his own wife, but he's imagining Zasha's character.
Yeah,
it's like, that's kind of like what was going on here, except they didn't show him imagining Catherine Trammell, but he was. You could tell he was. He was just like, and plus, Catherine Trammell tapped into that side of Nick Curran that he didn't want her to even see. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because he was that type, he used to be that wild type. And Trammell tapped into that. So she got to see it firsthand, in this scene. So I thought that was a well played scene. Yeah. Shooter. Yeah. Yeah.
I got one more honorable mention, and I was really debating this one. But I'm gonna put it out there anyway because I thought about it, and once again I was really looking at the overall of the story. It's this scene from the movie Body Double with Craig Wasson and Deborah Shelton, right?
Body Double.
Right, when he's kissing her and you see the camera constantly going around their body as he's kissing her
That was
and
cool.
trying to take her clothes off. But then when he comes and he does it again with Melanie Griffith, where he's having sex with Melanie Griffith, and it flashes back to her. But the camera is going all around their body, like literally circling their entire body as they're going through the motions. With Frankie goes to Hollywood playing in the background. You know.
Yeah, relax. Don't do it.
Exactly,
I remember
relax.
that. Relax.
But I always
that was a good scene. That was a good. There's a lot. I mean, there's so many of them. We could go on all night about them. But yeah, I think what we'll do is, you know, when we get Kev back on, we'll at least revisit his list and maybe come up with some more. Maybe we'll turn it into a top 10 and bring some more into it.
Yeah. Because now that you gave me a little bit more of like what the parameters. Now I might have a couple of other thoughts of things that were like. I mean, hell, would I put Prince and Apollonia?
But you had some good picks though. I like. Yeah, that was pretty cool too. You had some good picks though. I mean, I really enjoyed like what you said. Like the Gone Girl one. That's a good pick. It's just especially for what it is. So once again, before we wrap up, we want to thank everybody who was a panelist on the show. We want to thank Yesenia. We want to thank Michael. We want to thank Diana. We want to thank Deborah, all for coming through. It was a great show. Very fun to talk about, hearing their horror stories, hearing their funny stories. You know, it was awesome to hear that. Everybody in the chat room always holding us down. The heavy hitters that's always in there. Tanner, Joseph that's in there. We want to thank everybody once again, as we wrap the show up. Next week, come on back. We're going to talk about some more stuff. We might get a little heavy next week. I'm trying to set this particular show up, but I'm not sure yet. It might be the week after. But either way, we will be back with you. We'll do our thing, and we appreciate you joining us. So for Dollhouse Radio, which we've already signed off on, and for everybody else, I want to say good night to everybody. Peace. And stay safe, please. Wear your mask. Don't be like these fools in Florida. Wear your mask. All right, Ralph. Thanks, brother.
All right. Good night. Good night, everybody. Next Monday. Later.